This is X with another.
The darkness continues.
Open your mind.
Dark Exodus. The protest. Dark Exodus. Open your mind.
You know.
Yeah, X.
You know.
Dark Exodus. You understand? Yeah, X.
You know.
You understand? Open your mind. Dark X. Yeah, X.
You know.
You understand?
Yeah, X.
Open your mind.
Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus.
Peace, folks. Oh, shit. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me out there? I just got a stupid alert on my computer saying that my mic was doing an error. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay. What's good, infantry skills? And you know what, brother infantry skills, man, I'll be shouting you out sometimes, brother, because I you know that 1,800 abortions a day, I thought it was BS, man, until I looked it up and I'm like, oh shit, he's right. So I don't have no problem with you putting that in my chat, brother. None whatsoever. All right. All right. But these folks, welcome back to another edition of the Proper Thought series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why your black asses are here. Tonight we got a good one tonight, boy. The Hood Conservative is here. Yeah, the Hood Conservative is here. And tonight we will be talking about when prejudice privilege is revoked. Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Anything I can do to help, good mother, anything I can do to help. You know, you got people coming at you now, you know, attacking you hardcore. I know it's all my fault. I will take credit for it. I don't have a problem with that at all. You're welcome. But yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about when prejudice privilege is revoked. And like I said, the good brotherhood conservative is here. But before we get started, y'all know I always like to start the show off, man, with thanking you good folks for your likes, your shares, your views, your subs, and of course, your hard-earned pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and 50-cent pieces. Because I realize you don't have to do it, man. You don't have to watch these damn videos. You don't have to show up to these goddamn streams. You don't have to like them. You don't have to share them. And you definitely don't have to drop your hard-earned coins on this platform. But you good folks choose to do so, man. And I just want you to know, man, I don't take you lightly. I never have and I never will. You got my word on that. I'm humble. I'm honored. I'm appreciative. And I'm thankful, man, for all you good folks. And that goes for the good folks who hang out there and the good folks who hang out in here. All right? All right. So let's get at it without further delay. The one and only Hood Conservative is here. Brotherhood Conservative.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
What's good with it, man? Now I'm pretty sure you're aware of the recent events on TV. There's a particular talk show host by the name of Whoopi Goldberg, and she has been sat down, okay, because they perceive her words to have been disparaging to Jewish people. So now you won't see her for the next couple of weeks. Let's just start here before we get into the the nooks and crannies and the weeds and the rabbit holes of this thing. Do you think that this was a case of Whoopi Goldberg having her prejudice privileges revoked?
I want you to kind of back up the truck a little bit and walk
Okay.
me through your concept of prejudice privilege, because I may think I know what you're saying, but I kind of need some clarity before I continue.
Okay. When I say prejudice privilege, it's something that I think many of us in Black society have. Um, we're allowed to talk about white folks. We're allowed to talk about Latino folks, Asian folks, immigrants. We're allowed to talk about other Black people, Africans and Haitians and everybody else. So, and we're not penalized for it, right? I can get up here and say cracker all day long. I can get up here and say anything. I can get up here and say wet back. I can get up here and say whatever I want. And because I'm Black, very little is going to happen to me. I can get up here and talk about how awful other groups of people are. I can get up here, talk about how bad other groups of Black people are, and nothing will happen to me. When I say prejudice privilege, we happen to be people who can talk about everybody, but nothing ever happens. But if you flip that on its head and you let those same people talk disparaging about Black folks if they white, talk disparaging about Black folks if they're Latino, talk disparaging about Black folks if they're Asian, those people will catch all kinds of hell. But there is one group who you are not allowed to talk bad about if you're Black. And we know who those people are, right? The Jewish people. Because whenever a Black celebrity, no matter how bad this celebrity rails on white folks, no matter how bad this celebrity rails on Latinos, immigrants, other Black folks, whoever, nothing ever happens. But if they mess around and say something about the Jewish people now, them Jewish people sit they Black asses down. Because we didn't just see this with Lady Whoopi, right? We also saw this with this brother here. Did we
All
not?
right, brother X. And thank you for answering the question directly, because this is a subject that people tend to like tiptoe around the bushes with, and then also it's a dangerous subject if you want to like keep your channel and have like a voice in the social media. So I didn't want to be the guy to come to your channel and just drop the J bomb and then it not be the target of the discussion. But I don't know that we can discuss this Whoopi thing or even the Nick Cannon thing in totality without acknowledging this one group of people. And you kind of get tarred with all kind of isms if you speak about this group at all. Whether it be a positive or a negative stereotype, you're kind of not allowed to even acknowledge that there is this group of people. And it could very well be that this group of people do in fact have their own particular goals, their own particular aims, and they act at times in concert to achieve these goals and aims. If you would actually say these things out loud about this group of people, you would be accused of all types of hatreds and conspiracy theories, no matter how blatant the evidence is in your face. And so thank you for giving me the pass to now let's talk about it directly. Here's the deal. Whoopi just made plain something very true about the nature of race politics in America, and frankly, about the nature of race politics on the whole, because you'll find out if you go far back enough in history and see who were the people actually making a big deal about race to begin with, it wasn't the Blacks and it wasn't the whites. It was the people who swear they're not white. And I think that's significant. And when you look at
Mhm.
how Whoopi was treated today, well, not today, but with this incident, I think it's fair to say that not all, but just on the whole, the Black community has been used as a form of attack dog against the larger white establishment. And the people holding that leash are the people who swear they're not white.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so I think it just sort of it made this whole situation plain. It's okay for Black people to talk all kinds of shit about white people. It's not okay for white people to talk all kinds of shit about Black people because Black people have the protection of the star. We are covered in the
Mhm.
star, so we have that protection. It's like a shield. And at the same time, other groups are allowed to have certain levels of racial animosity because I suppose it all benefits that overall goal, whatever that may be. But there is a certain reality that's been made plain that you are allowed to be evil and racist even, but only in a certain direction. And the whole game is being controlled by a certain group.
Focused racism. The prejudice has to be focused, right? Um, especially when it comes to us, but we have a wide girth. That's why I call it prejudice privilege, because we as Black people, we have a wide girth of how prejudiced we can be. I mean, our girth is pretty wide, don't you think? You're muted.
I tend to take a different view of this so-called privilege. I mean, I suppose it's privilege in the sense that, if one slave is allowed to beat another slave, then technically that slave is privileged, is he not?
Mhm. But we,
You're still a slave
we,
though.
yeah, we as Black people, though, we can get away with saying more shit about other ethnic groups, about other racial groups, I mean, we can get away with a lot more shit than most people can, especially when you're talking about on media. Okay. If you're a media person, as a Black person, you can get on TV and say all kinds of shit about other races. Nothing will happen to you, man. I mean, nothing. Unless you say something about Jewish people. But other than that, you can, man, you can rail on other racial groups and not a damn thing will happen to you. But if one white person or one Latino person or one Asian person says anything that's even remotely racially sensitive, guess what? They will either have to go on a fucking apology tour or they will be sat down. They will be lambasted in the media. I mean, they will not just walk away from that consequence free. Black people, we walk away from that kind of shit consequence free. All right. With all the shit that we say, it's almost as if, as Black people, we have a license to be prejudiced against others, depending on who those others are. But go ahead.
X. Let me challenge you on the notion of consequence free.
Okay.
I would argue that there are a lot of other threads to tie together to kind of make this particular point salient, but I would argue that the consequences for this type of relationship are being laid bare. This is like why the community is in dysfunction. And I know that's a big like leap from one point to another, but I think the argument I'm trying to lay out is if your group is beholden to the ideas and the worldview of another group to the point so much so that you are essentially a weapon for this other group, that has to have a negative impact on your group.
Mhm.
And what I would argue is that one, other groups don't have much love for Black America. And I would venture to argue that our aggressive and obnoxious at times racial posture has a lot to do with that. And then I'm arguing that this aggressive and obnoxious racial posture is something that is promoted, encouraged, and even rewarded by an outside third party. And I'm arguing that that does ultimately have negative effects on the group. It has negative internal effects because in a lot of ways, we aren't necessarily the masters of our affairs, especially when you bring this to like the political world or to like entertainment, especially. We are not the masters of our own affairs. We are not the controllers of our own image. But yeah, that's the internal side of it too. But you know, like I said, also externally, other people don't want other people are getting sick of the blackity black shit. Let's just leave it like that.
And a lot of those people happen to be black. And that's it, right? We are in a time now where we as black people are calling some of our black shit out. Because it's the whole thing that your parents used to teach you, you know, when you were younger, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So now, I mean, we're not seeing. Well, I'm not seeing. Let me speak for myself. I'm not seeing where you're allowed to do certain things to other people, but they're not allowed to do that certain thing to you, whether they're black, white, a Latino, Asian, an immigrant, whoever. I don't think that you should be allowed to do something to someone and then talk shit if that person does the same thing to you. I don't think that I have any special privileges where I can be overtly freaking prejudiced towards other people, overtly prejudiced towards other ideas, overtly prejudiced towards, you know, other mind frames for the simple fact that I'm black and the history of black people in this country. I just don't believe that that is productive for me. Now, it might be productive for other people, but I don't see that as productive. Because you know, being prejudiced against others hasn't gotten me any fucking where. All right. I can't name one goddamn thing that being prejudiced has gotten me. All right. I mean, because there was a time where I was extremely prejudiced, all right, of others. Extremely prejudiced, especially when I was a young guy. And guess what? None of that prejudice shit got me anything. It didn't advance my life. It didn't improve my station in life. It didn't benefit me, my wife, my children, nothing. So I got this thing, man, where I don't want shit in my life that doesn't benefit me, man. And I just don't see the benefits of being an overtly prejudiced person. Now, I know we all have our prejudices. I mean, we all do. All right. We all do. We all have these little prejudices that we have against people. That's fine. But I just don't think that I should be just blatantly, overtly, um, you know, enforcing those prejudices onto people for the simple fact that they look different, they're a different color, they got a different accent, they got different kind of hair, they come from a different part of the world, they come from a different part of the town. I mean, because they really, really light skinned, or they're really, really dark skinned, or they look like they may be mixed with something. Or I mean, I just think that that shit is a colossal waste of thought and time. I do. And I think that we as black people, I think that we have the privilege to just be fucking prejudiced against every fucking body, free license to voice our prejudices and freaking act them out if we want to, with little to no consequence. But nobody can do shit to us or say shit to us or about us or anything.
Let me ask you something. Let's try a thought exercise, right? And I know you have children. I think you have grandchildren at this point. You said
Mhm,
so. You fully understand the ins and outs of like molding another human being into adulthood.
mhm.
So if you have a child and your child is never disciplined, it's never really shown the consequences of their negative behaviors, what do you suppose that child will become as they go off into adulthood?
A freaking
Now, see,
miscr miscreant. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, because that miscreant. All right, great example. Now, when we kind of when we look at the extremes of like black criminality and whatnot, and how black criminality in itself seems to be relatively extreme, I think we're kind of seeing that miscreant being transposed onto almost the entirety of the community, where like as a whole, if we have a community that's not really um facing the consequences of our own negative behaviors, then the other communities who have to share space around us will eventually look at us and see us as miscreants. Whether or not a significant number, even if a majority, a slight majority, or even if a de facto majority, 60% are not miscreants, the activities and the attitudes of this extremely visible minority are creating our reputation. And like it or not, that is just the reality of things.
Mhm. So, who do you think okay, we're talking about the bottom of the barrel class is the representation of black people, right? That's what you're saying. The people who are the worst of us. That's what you're saying, right?
For
So,
the most part, yes. That the spirit of the underclass is kind of
okay.
representing the majority of Black America. Yes.
Okay. So, when you're talking about the spirit of the underclass, has the spirit of the underclass, have they exercised, in your opinion, this prejudice privilege?
Oh, absolutely. And frankly, sometimes it's almost understandable. Like you see how they so many Black politicians, and this is a thing on the left in general, but a lot of Black people are on the left. It's almost like if you're in politics and Black, there's like an 80% chance you're on the left. And so many Black politicians are taking these absurdly soft on crime stances. And from an ideological standpoint, the major reason why they like want to abolish the police and even abolish prison is mostly because they want to fight racism, which is a roundabout way of saying, well, Black people are entitled to this behavior because, white supremacy and slavery.
Mhm.
So that is the privilege you're asking about. And it's actually almost at this point written into law.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that that weakens us, right?
Agreed.
If we're going to follow a narrative of, well, they're black, so we need to expect them to do crime. They black, so we need to expect them to rob, steal, shoot, bite, kill. Because they're black, we need to expect this of them. Therefore, we need to legislate some laws that understand that they do this shit because they're black. They do this shit because of the history of black people. Is like the most ridiculous fucking thing that I think I've ever heard. And this is what people are actually saying for the most part. They're saying that, well, black people, they were slaves and Jim Crow and all this kind of stuff. Therefore, we have to look at black people a particular way and not treat them the same way we would treat people of other ethnic groups, people of other races, because see, they're black in the history of other people, but of the past. But this is the thing, brotherhood conservative. We as black people at times, we want to be treated differently, right? Because that would be us being treated differently, right? If you're saying, well, we got to have different rules for blacks. We got to have different rules for black folk because, you know, they black folk and, you know, all this stuff. So we want to be treated differently. But at the same time, when some other shit happens with us, we will bitch about being treated differently because we're black. And see, that's where my problem is. All right. We talk about equality and being treated like every fucking body else, but we only want to be treated like everybody else when it fucking benefits us. Now, when it don't benefit us to be treated like everybody else, we want to be treated different, right? We want to be treated like a fucking a political group, right? A special interest group, right? We want
Yeah,
to be treated
yeah.
like a special interest group when it benefits us, but any other time, oh, don't treat us like a special interest group. Treat us just like everybody else. So what we're asking is, you know, that society vacillates between the two extremes when it's beneficial for black people. And to me, that just reeks of we are the most powerful people, but we are also the most oppressed people at the same time. And I just can't get my fucking head wrapped around that one.
You know the thing about that, I've been like toying around with the idea that there's some kind of mental issue floating around Black America. And I do not say that lightly. I do not say that in jest at all. And I mean that in all sincerity. And here's why. A lot of times, you know, traditionally, I think we recognize like a crazy person as somebody who just believes things that are objectively untrue, but they respond to the world and they behave in the world as if these things are absolutely true. And I would venture that I would venture to guess that if we as a group, as Black Americans, if we are constantly fed a diet of contradictory information, at a certain level, it would have to cause a certain type of mental incongruity. Like when your reality doesn't match up to the the thought process that you're working with, right? So this idea that we was kings, but we've also been oppressed throughout almost the entirety of written history. It's like we was kings for a minute and then we've been oppressed. Like those concepts are inherently contradictory, and to hold two inherently contradictory ideas in your mind at the same time, I believe is the entry into mental instability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can't say we are the greatest. You can't say we are the strongest. You can't say we are the most powerful, and then in the next breath say someone's got their boot on our face. I mean, how can those two things be simpatico? We're either the greatest, the most powerful, or we're the weakest, because if someone got their boot on your damn face, that's not a power position. At least I don't think it is. So I think a lot of us need to make up our goddamn minds. Um, you're either the victor or the victim. How can you be both at the same time? And I think that's what gives some of us that so-called prejudice privilege, right? Because we try to make those two things simpatico. yeah, we oppressed, and they got their boots on our faces, but at the same time, we are great. We are strong. We are, the shining light, of this world. So we have those two things, and I think that kind of bolsters our ability to be prejudiced against others. Because make no mistake, man, people think that because of the history of black people in this country, that black people aren't capable of being prejudiced, which is insane to even think that black people are not capable of being prejudiced, bigoted, discriminatory, and guess what? If they have a degree of power, they can also be racist. So we got this idea that because we're black, there's no way we're prejudiced. There's no way we're bigots. And we know that that is BS because we have prejudice and discrimination amongst our own ranks of black society. Forget everybody else. We got people who are prejudiced against people who are really light skinned, really dark skinned, people with certain kind of hair, people with certain kind of height, facial features, big lips, big eyes, big foreheads, big noses, big feet. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We are prejudiced amongst our own fucking ranks. All right? Amongst our own ranks, we are prejudiced as hell. So let me ask you this. Why do you think that black folks, especially when you're talking about people who are, high up there, they're celebrities, we just got finished talking about Whoopi Goldberg, Lady Whoopi, brother Nick Cannon. Okay, remember when brother Nick Cannon said some shit that the Jewish folks didn't like? They sat his black ass down. They took him off that goddamn show, and he had to go on the old apology tour. Did he not?
I'm not even sure
Because
exactly what he said about them that was particularly offensive. Like I totally lost that whole
well,
episode.
I think he says something to the effect of, he said, I think black people were the original Hebrews or something to that effect, he said. And
Oh,
he said that, and let me tell you something. They sat his black ass down. They took him off the show. All right? They took him off of his show. All right? Yeah, he said that they weren't the chosen people. And they sat his black ass down. And you know what else they did? Made him do this. See, this is him. Let me show y'all. This is brother Nick Cannon on his apology tour. You see him sitting there, right? You see who he's sitting with? You see who he's sitting with, right? Sitting with a rabbi. And I think that's one of many he had to sit
well,
with.
Brother X, you know what's unfair about this? And this is why I really don't like this whole setup. Because that guy, whoever that rabbi is, I'm assuming that because he was chosen to be the guy, to be the, the face talking to Nick. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. I think he was one of many, dog, because he went on a whole apology tour. He talked to more than one. He talked to more than one rabbi. He talked to quite a few. I don't know how many, but I know it was more than one.
Well, I'm still there are thousands of rabbis in the country, so the ones that were selected for a reason. And what I'm saying is that gives them some kind of clout as a rabbi. You're not just any rabbi. You're a guy. You're one of the guys. Now, I would rather one of those rabbis debate, like I couldn't name the guy because I'm not in this world, but one of the prime, like, who is the top Hebrew Israelite?
I
That's
don't
the
know.
debate I want to see, because Nick Cannon
He
doesn't
said,
fucking know.
who's the top?
Right, Nick Cannon doesn't know this shit like the real Hebrew Israelites. Like, and not that I 100% support the Hebrew Israelite position, but as someone who has like lightly looked into the issue, there is a there. I'm telling you, like, you would be surprised how often like dark-skinned swarthy Jews are mentioned in very old books that are not fiction, like non-fiction writings. And so this particular historical debate needs to be had in the open with all, good intention. And then we'll see. I don't know that black people are the original Jews. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. But to just like just table the whole discussion, just put the whole debate in your pocket and like, no. Listen, we're the guys and nobody's allowed to talk about it. You can't even debate it. Oh no, fuck that. Come on. At least have the talk. At least have the fight.
Yeah, I get that. I get where you're coming from, but see, this is the thing. This is what gets me. It's like, okay, you got on TV, you got on the internet, you got on whatever, and you said whatever you said, right? Let's talk about the most recent one. Let's talk about Lady Whoopi, right? Let's talk about Lady Whoopi. Popular person, very famous on a show that, she's been on for years. She's a bona fide celebrity, right? Now, if you're going to get on a program and you're going to say these things, do you have the guts to stand on them? Or did you just say them? Because guess what? Lady Whoopi is on an apology tour right now herself. Why do these people, the Nick Cannons, the Whoopi Goldbergs, why do they apologize if they really believe the shit they said? Why do they apologize? Is it because that check been threatened? Is it because that show is in jeopardy? Is it their fame? Is it their fortune? Or do they apologize because they are bending the fucking knee to the people who are pressuring them?
I think it's a combination of all these things, and it probably varies from person to person which level of pressure is, or which angle of attack is most effective. But essentially, it is that, like, there's just different levels of pressure applied to these people. So it's like you could fall on your sword and just bow out of the game. And um, Mel Gibson, that's the perfect guy to talk about in this sort of thing. He famously got like drummed out of Hollywood for a couple of years, not only because of his views on the Jews, but also, he said some things about the blacks. He dropped a few N bombs. It was epic. But he faced that, and he basically went dark for a while, and then he slowly fought his way back into like Hollywood. Now you'll see him in a few movies, and the movies he's dropped since he's come back have been interesting. He had one movie where he played Santa Claus. It's like a new modern take on the Santa Claus story. It was hilarious though. I hear he's actually working on a movie about the Rothschilds right now.
Did he
So,
go
and that's
on
just
and
Hollywood rumor.
did he go on an apology tour? Did he do that? Because
I
that's usually
don't
the
think
next
so.
thing,
That's why
right?
he went dark for so long, because he did not go on the apology tour.
Yeah. But see, here lately, an apology tour, and I think that a lot of times, now I would like to think that they go and they sit in their mansion and they think it over and they say, you know what? I just I shouldn't have said what I said. They like talking to themselves in the mirror. When I go on my show tomorrow, I'm going to apologize. I wish that I could respect that, but I don't think that's the case. I think you got network executives, personal assistants, agents, publicists, managers are in these people's ear. They're on these people's cell phones saying, "Look, you, the CEO of the XYZ network did not like that shit that you said. Um, you need to apologize. You need to say you sorry. You need to say you misspoke. You need to go talk to some rabbis, and clean this shit up." I think that's what's happening. I don't think these people are going somewhere and fucking having some self-reflection and then come on the show the next day and say they sorry. No, no. People are in their ears saying, you need to clean this up or they gonna stop that check. That's what that's what I think it is. But that's just me. I'm a biased ass person. But I think they threaten to stop that money. So they be like, well, when you come to the show tomorrow, you're gonna have to get up there and say you sorry. You're gonna have to go and talk to the rabbi. You're gonna have to go and talk to the priest. You're gonna have to apologize to all these folks. Because remember, I don't know if y'all remember this lady. She was a cook, right, from the South. Her name was Paula Dean, I believe, right? And they had discovered that she used the word niggers. I guess, in her travels or when she's, cooking or what, she's like a famous Southern cook, right? Very popular, all that kind of stuff. And they discovered that she had said niggers in the past. Now, obviously, it was a while back, so nobody cared. She's famous now, making millions of dollars. But someone was able to dig that shit up on this old white woman. You know what that old white woman had to do? She had to go on the apology tour and get on stage and say, niggers, black people, I'm sorry for calling y'all niggers 5 years ago. I mean, she had to
Yeah.
do the thing. She had to do it
She lucky
because,
they didn't make her get a black boyfriend. That's how you show you're really
yes,
sorry.
yeah, because certain people, now me, I could probably get up here and get away with saying a bunch of racial shit because I'm nobody. All right. But if you're somebody who's up there, all right, you're up there, you're on the major networks, you got a show, you're a host, you're a news person, you're somebody like that, you fuck around. These certain people you can't say shit about. You can't say shit about the Rainbow Coalition. As shout out to Brother Rod of God, because I stole that from him. The Rainbow Coalition, you can't say anything about them. You can't say anything about Jewish people, and you damn sure can't say nothing about black people if your ass ain't black. All right, that's kind of a rule, right? That that just doesn't cover media, right? Mainstream media. It also covers us, right? Down here in the basement, known as YouTube, right? If you're not black, we don't want you saying anything about black people. And likewise, if you're, for instance, one of the co-hosts that sit up there with Whoopi Goldberg, the same thing would happen to them if they sat up there and said nigger on The View. I mean, not only would they be sat down, they would have to go on an apology tour. They would have to do it. Even if they said something about black people that's true. If they were to come up there and say, well, the majority of black babies, y'all, are born, outside of marriage, in wedlock, they would have to apologize for that shit if they're white or they're Asian or they're Latino. they would have to go on a fucking apology tour, even though they told the fucking truth. And likewise, people like Whoopi Goldberg, people like Nick Cannon, when they fuck around and say some shit about Jewish people, they're gonna have to go on the fucking apology tour. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's if they want to keep that fucking job. They can't literally afford to stand on that shit. They can't. And I think it's just a
That's the
common
way the
case
game is
of,
played.
yes, I think it's a common case of prejudice, privileges being revoked. It's sort of like your driver's license, right? If you get too many speeding tickets in a certain amount of time, they'll take your shit for a little while, right? And I guess you have to apply, reapply to try to get it back. If you do certain shit, your prejudice license gets revoked if you get too many racial occurrences, especially if one of
Well,
those racial occurrences include a certain group of people.
and that's exactly what I wanted to say. The irony of it all is, who are the police really? Like, that's why the concept of white privilege is really hilarious when you know these things and you can kind of see this level of reality. It's like, out of all the people who may actually legit have white privilege, they swear they're not white. I find that shit so funny.
Mm-hmm.
It is like the ultimate sword and shield. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, do you think we reserve the right? Do we reserve the right to be prejudiced because of the quote unquote white privilege? Is that our privilege? Because white people have white privilege, we get the black privilege of being somewhat prejudiced against others and against ourselves. I mean, do you think that plays into, do those things
I
play
think
into each other?
I think the concept of white privilege was something that it's probably a relatively old concept, as far as, like, I don't know, 30 years maybe or so, but it's gained steam and popularity over the last 10 years. But I think what was happening is that ultimately the practical realities that made, like, the civil rights movement necessary, let's say that, started to
Hmm.
fade away. And on top of that, like, there's a myth that, black success was just, never happening before the civil rights movement. That's a whole an intentional mistelling of history as far as black Americans are concerned. Like, black people were out here killing it. Not all, but, not all people were ever rich in any one country. So there was always that significant minority of blacks who were doing very, very, extremely well. But you don't really get that. And you get the story of white racism. And as the realities of white racism faded away, you needed another, like, social mechanism, like a Pavlovian kind of trigger to keep the game going. And that's why the concept of white supremacy, as opposed to, like, actual interpersonal racism,
Hmm.
became a thing. Because if you really pay attention to, like, what it used to be, the civil rights movement was fighting racism on a legal front, but technically, like, a lot of laws were already, written enough that, you could have enforced them. They just weren't enforcing them. So there was the social problem of just, how do you treat another person who isn't your group? And so as we kind of started to lower the temperature on that type of problem, you needed to now move the target of your anger into something a little bit more, like, ethereal, so you can always have a moving target. And that's what this white supremacy as a concept really is. It's like, it's a ghost. It's, I forgot where I heard this phrase. It's like sword fighting a fart. Like, you can swing at it all you want, but you're always going to smell it. And that's what the white supremacy notion really is. It's like you'll always be swinging at this ghost, but you'll swear there's something in there ruining your life. Really, it's just you swinging at nothing. And that's kind of the problem with the whole concept. So it's like, with all that being true, there is the person, well, not person, but there is that external force that is kind of keeping it all going for whatever benefit they can get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this many times, man, and I've always told this, to my offspring, and I tell it to my grandchildren that racism isn't going anywhere. All right, I mean, we're not going to wake up one day, man, and it's going to be breaking news all over television and internet saying that racism has finally died and been defeated. I mean, racism isn't going anywhere. Um, I've always been of the mind that, how you deal and circumnavigate around said racism ultimately defines you. And I don't mean, by acknowledging it 25 times a fucking day every day. All right. I think that when it comes to particular types of discrimination and particular types of racism and bigotry and all that kind of shit, I think that often what happens is, you know, the only prejudice and the only bigotry and discrimination we see as black people is the prejudice and discrimination and racism of others. I say again, it's almost like, we are incapable of being prejudiced for the simple fact that we're black. And I think that that has been ingrained in a lot of us, where we walk around here saying that the only people who can be victims of quote unquote racism or white supremacy or the white power structure is us. We are the only victims of any type of racism. We are the only people who can be discriminated against. We are the only people that people will do something to for the simple fact that we are black because of the color of our skin. And I think it fucking blinds us to a lot of our own prejudices that we have um about other people and people within black society. I think it fucking blinds us because we think that we are not capable of doing this.
Yeah.
Prejudice and racism only affects black people. So if it only affects us, there's no way we can be the people, enforcing it on other people. That's impossible, right?
Well, that's why at the college level they came up with the whole formula to kind of explain the contradiction.
Mhm.
Racism is privilege plus power. Like, have you heard that phrase before? I remember the first time I ever heard that phrase, and I wasn't even in the YouTube world like that. I was probably just a casual listener of red pill content back in those days. But I was in a taxi cab with a friend of mine. It was a couple of us, and we were like, it was her daughter had just, like, I don't know, graduated college. It was a birthday. It was some kind of celebration, and we were all in the cab going back. And I don't even remember how it came up, but somebody started going on a rant about white people, and then her college graduate daughter says, "Oh, black people can't be racist because that is racism is just privilege plus power." And this is years ago. Like, in the real world, that's what kills me, because, like, we talk about these things on YouTube sometimes almost as if they only exist in the digital realm. So, like, I come across the stuff in the real world every now and then, and I remember when she said it, it struck me like I didn't even want to respond because, like, I didn't want to get into it and fuck the night up and everything. But, like, I just was like, wow, you went to college and got crazy. I didn't know how else to take that shit. Like, you went to college and they taught you how to be crazy.
Yeah, people say that shit a lot. I've heard people say the worst thing that happened to you is your damn college education. But I mean, if we as people, right, if we have this thing where, we want to be treated fairly, we want to be treated equally, We want to be treated, like everybody else. I guess, when it benefits us. Any other time, we're a special interest group. But for argument's sake, we want to be treated just like everybody else. We want the same opportunities. We want to be able to live where we want. We want to be able to go to school where we want. We want to be able to have the same kind of jobs as everybody else. Uh, uh, Live in the same kind of house, drive the same kind of car. We want to do all the shit that everybody else do, right? At least that's what what it seems like, right? When we talking this equality shit, we want to do, we want to be able to do what everybody else does, right? So if we as a people want to be able to do what everybody else does, how can we now turn around and try to be different with racial privilege? Because see, most people don't have racial privilege. White people can't get nowhere and just say nigga, nigga, nigga all day and think their platform, their show, their whatever, their radio show is going to last. But I can get up here and say cracker all night, bleach monkey all night. I can get up here and say peckerwood and white trailer trash crackers. I can get up here and say that shit all night. And when I wake up tomorrow, my goddamn YouTube page will still be here. But you let a white person get up here and go on with that nigga shit all night. And, or better yet, let somebody mainstream on television do it. They will be fucking gone. Gone. So are we really being treated equally if we are allowed to do things that other people cannot? Are we being treated equally?
I think, and I'm going to refer back to something I said earlier in the conversation, but I think it has to be sort of drilled home. To even phrase it in the context of being treated equally by whom, I guess, is one question, but also equality amongst slaves is no true equality. So again, if one slave is allowed to beat another slave, who's really winning here? Did
But
you
I'm not
win
sure.
something as the slave beating the other slave? Did you actually win something of value?
Yeah, but we don't want to be treated equally as equal slaves. We want to be treated equal to everybody else, right? We want to be treated equal as white folks and Latino folks and Asian folks. And we don't want to be treated, we don't want all slaves to be equal. We want to be equal with, the quote unquote slave master and overseer and every
Well,
goddamn
which
body
brings
else. We
me
want to be treated like those people.
which brings me to my next analogy. You can say the most vile imaginary. The other day, and shout out to SKC. We've been kind of in the trenches with this sort of thing lately. But SKC was playing a clip from some other guy's channel, some pro-black kind of guy, and he was saying the most incredible things about white women. They sleep with animals, they sleep with dead bodies, they will jump on your dead father at his funeral. Like, he was just going off about it, right? And it's okay. That is fair play. You're allowed to say that. You can fucking write a comic book, a graphic novel about that
Yep.
sort of shit. But don't you ever say 6 million is a kind of funny number. Don't you
Yeah.
ever say, that I don't know if it was quite the way you say it was. Don't you dare. And that's what I mean about, have you really gained? So what, you can talk shit about the white man. Have you really gained anything?
Yeah. Yeah. Because in a sense, that's all you have, right? You have the ability to, talk all this shit about other groups, but that's it. I mean, that's where your privilege ends, right? Because your privilege ends at those groups. Because if you talk about a certain group now, say that shit about them. Say that same shit. say the same exact shit about Jewish people and see how long your ass get away with it. See how long you get away with it. You won't. You won't. And the bigger you are, the harder your ass will fall. Yeah, the harder your ass will fall, the bigger you are. Just ask Whoopi Goldberg here. She's a very big star, A-lister. But guess what? When you say shit that the Jewish people don't like, they snatch that shit right out from under you. And it's crazy, right? Because I've been told, right, many, many times that, well, you know, the white man can come, man, and take shit away from you just like that. Boy, they can take it all away from you, X. Boy, they can take you all of that. But it seems like it's not the white man that can do it, right? It's not the white man who takes it all away from these folks, these powerful entertainment conglomerates, these walking entertainment conglomerate black folks. It's not them at all, is it? It's not them. It's the other people, isn't it? They can take it all away from you if you talk shit about them. Yeah, we've seen it. We're seeing it now. And the only reason why she'll be back on that show is because she went on that fucking apology tour. See, that's part of it. See, that's part of the condition. They say, okay, fine. We're going to let you come back after we sit your black ass down for a while. But under one condition, you must go on an apology tour. And I guarantee you, when she comes back to that show, if she comes back, she will come back, and one of the first goddamn people she will have on that show is someone Jewish, probably a rabbi.
There's something going on in the chat I kind of like to address. There's a guy, Trinity, KHUX, in the chat, and he's asking some questions I think I'd like to explore. When he's saying essentially, what do Jews have to do with black racism? And then the last question he just asked, are blacks victims of racism from Jews? And I would like to sort of go into that a little bit. No, I don't know if it's quite victims. I don't know that we're quite victims of racism from Jews. I mean, I guess you could make that argument. That's not quite how I'm taking it, though. What I'm saying is the relationship between black people and Jewish people in this country on a political level and even on a social level to some degree, because now we're getting into like entertainment and whatnot. But that relationship goes back a long way. And it is actually a very close, relatively intimate relationship. And the power dynamic has always been essentially one way. And when we get into something like even the civil rights movement, black people were the face of it, but Jewish people were essentially the brains of it. I forget what who was this guy's name? I want to say like Bayard something. It was Bayard Russell, something like that. Was he the guy who wrote anyway, there was a famous guy from the civil rights movement, and he actually got like I don't know, I guess a little bit of a promotion, and he wound up working at the NAACP headquarters up in maybe it was in New York or whatever it was at the time. But he got up there and he found out that all the staff at the NAACP headquarters were young Jews. And it was a little bit of a revelation to him. And what I'm kind of getting at is that, without even making it like some kind of antagonist posture or something like that, I think the reality of things need to be laid bare. Like a lot of what we think of as like, quote, black movements have always had an extra hand in the pie.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. There's always someone back there, with the assist. They're giving the assist. Um, Now the brother says that, he asked if black people are victims of racism by Jewish people. When you talk about people who are in power, when you talk about the Jewish people who are in power, because obviously they're in power, because they can take your ass right on up off of your damn show and you out of there, goddamn it. So they have some degree of power over these people, and I don't think they really care about the racism too much, or the, should I say, not racism, the bigotry, discrimination, and prejudice that comes from black people. I don't think they care about it too much until black folks cross that line and say, because they don't even have to say anything that's remotely prejudiced or bigoted, right? All they have to do is say something that the powers that be don't like or disagree with or think is untrue. They don't have to bash them. They don't have to come out and say, oh, well, they're X, Y, and Z. No. All they have to do is say something that they believe is historically inaccurate, something that they believe is outright wrong, something that they believe is somewhat offensive. That's it. They don't have to go into this whole tirade of vitriol about Jewish people to get snatched off of TV. I mean, they can say some really, really mild things because, for instance, let's talk about what Lady Whoopi Goldberg and Brother Nick Cannon said. Now imagine, because I think that if they were white, they probably would have got the same treatment, possibly. But let's take another person. Let's take a white person or a Latino person or an Asian person, right? Say they said something similar about black people. They said something similar. Or not even that. Let's say Nick Cannon, Whoopi Goldberg said something like, oh, well, the white man came out of the caves. The white man crawled on all fours. The white man used to be the ape and the monkey, not us. Guess what? I don't think they would have been sat down for saying that. I don't think they would have been threatened, all right, to lose their show. I don't think they would have to go on this fucking apology tour, all right, with white folks and sit down with a bunch of priests and shit. They wouldn't. If they had got up there and said, well, white people, they come out the Caucasus Mountains and they all lived in caves and they walked on all fours and they were dirty, they had bad hygiene, they cannibalized each other. They could say a whole gauntlet of shit. And I don't think they would have been sat down for saying it. I don't think they would have. And especially if they said something that wasn't, quote unquote vitriolic, because I don't believe what Whoopi said and what Brother Cannon said was, oh my God, I don't think they said anything that was that goddamn offensive. All right. Now, maybe they didn't like it. Maybe the Jewish people didn't like it. But I don't think it was so offensive that, they should be kicked off their show. They should be threatened. They got to go on this fucking apology tour and talk to all these other people. And I mean, I don't think it was that bad what they did. But I say again, a black person can say something 50 times worse. And I don't think they would have endured the same kind of quote unquote, you know, repercussions or ramifications. I just don't I just don't think they would have I just don't think that would have happened. I don't. Because we as black people, some of us, we have prejudice, we have prejudice privilege, man. We do.
All privileges are given by other people.
Hmm. Hmm. So
And I think,
do you
yeah, go.
think everybody gives black folks do have we been given a prejudice privilege?
Absolutely. And I think it's been given with a certain malicious intent, even.
Mm, mm. So what do you mean? What do you mean
I
when you
mean,
say
like
that?
now we're getting down like the rabbit hole, and
Hmm.
I hate to
Yeah,
even
let's do
talk
it.
about this stuff. I like
Let's
I
do it.
hesitate to even talk about this kind of stuff really, really in depth because it's almost like you have to give people baby steps in a months long introductory course into like communism, communist history, communist theory, and the relationship that a lot of Jewish people had to communism originally. And
Hmm.
to this day, for that matter, it's not a broken chain at all, but it kind of all right. So basically, like this, the idea is that when communism first started, so Marxism was right. His book, Das Kapital. So when Marx dropped his book and the idea started to spread, once it started to become like a force or whatever, the money in the movement was very much supported by essentially like the Jewish conspiracy guys, the bankers, the Rothschilds and whatnot. And a lot of Jewish people essentially supported the movement in general. And it was something that was widely discussed amongst, a lot of Americans at the time, prominent Americans. Henry Ford was one of the main guys. Henry Ford of the Ford Company, yes. One of the main guys. Disney too, I think he was into it as well. But they spoke openly about how it was essentially like a plot to take over Russia. And so when you get to Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he's a famous writer. He's a guy who graduated out of the gulags, essentially. He survived the Russian Soviet gulag system, which is also why we kind of call, my chat room the Gulag Gang, because, as an homage to him. But he survived the Soviet prison system, and he wrote books explaining just what was going on in Russia. His first book was I forget the exact name of it, but it was the book that made him world famous. But he wrote another book that never got translated into English, and I think it was called like 200 Years Together, and it was essentially the story of the Jews in Russia, because basically Russia took over a region of Europe that was like where all the Jews lived. And so now they had this population that didn't want to be had, and it was always drama. And that's how the Tsar got murdered eventually, and all this stuff went down. And so in Solzhenitsyn's book, he explained how a lot of the communists, like the what you call the commissars, like the political officers who were in charge of whatever areas of the government, a lot of the key figures of the Red Army and the eventual like first Soviet government, they were essentially all Jews. And so at that same time that's going on in Russia, right? You have over in America the Jew, not Jewish, but like the black struggle is starting to take shape. That the black political movement. So you start getting early into guys like W.E.B. Du Bois. I think was essentially an open communist, and a lot of other early prominent black political figures had open communist leanings. At the time, and so now the game essentially is this. And this is something that was laid out by like oh, what is my guy's name now? A famous guy. Somebody in the chat. Trey, if you're in the chat, remind me of the guy. Manning Johnson. Manning Johnson. He was the guy who actually, and you can look Manning Johnson up right now. Actually, I'm going to do that while we're talking. Manning Johnson was the guy who actually did a little bit of a, like, the first black expose on the Jewish conspiracy, as far as black people are concerned, anyway. And what he did was say that, this whole civil rights movement is essentially a plot to get communism into the country. And what they're going to do to implement communism is use black people to start essentially a racial conflict. And once the racial conflict goes hot, the black people will basically be cannon fodder. And the cannon fodder doesn't really matter ever. It's like, all the pawns go first in chess. And so ultimately, if you can win the chess game without any pawns, well, there you go, you won. And if black people are the pawns, how are we supposed to actually actively go, participate in some kind of movement like this? And so that was essentially why Manning Johnson did this sort of video. But that is the long and short of the whole, like, black Jewish conspiracy relationship right there. And there's a lot of stuff that is like I said, you have to go back and look at very old source material to really find out the, who said what at the time, kind of thing. But there's a very, very visible trail of evidence to, like, tie this all together. And it's just that I've been spending, like, the last couple of years just slowly watching this and watching that and reading a little bit of this and reading a little bit of that and tying all these threads together. But it's like, yeah, there's definitely something going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I just you know, as a father and a grandfather, I just think it would be really fucking irresponsible of me to, indoctrinate, well, my offspring are grown, but I'm around my grandchildren. And I think it would be incredibly irresponsible, man, to give off the idea to my grandbabies that it's all right for you to do something to somebody, but that very person isn't allowed to do it to you. Um, I don't want them thinking that it's all right to just walk around with inherent prejudices against people, but not expect other people to have those same inherent fucking prejudices against them. Like, I mean, to me, the two things just don't make sense. All right. If you want to be a person that's filled with prejudice and hate, I mean, you cannot expect others to be filled with joy and glee. I mean, because you're filled with hate, you're filled with prejudice and bigotry and discrimination, but no one else is allowed to think or believe that. Only you, because you're you, or only you have a right to do it because of the history, because of Jim Crow, because of slavery. And that's fine. If you believe these things because of all of that, you believe these things because of the history of black people in this country. Fine. I'm good with that. But you can't be a person who's filled with all of this stuff and then you want to cry foul when people think the same way about you. All right. You can't put yourself in a position of power and a position of weakness at the same time. That just doesn't jive with me, man. I see you got something up here. Oh, it just fell off. It just fell off.
Yeah, I'm actually going to switch that out for something a little bit shorter and more to the point, because that clip was like 30 minutes long and I didn't want to
Oh shit.
just play, random sections. So I found something that's only a minute long, but it's a little bit better.
You damn Negroes, you didn't even tell me that I had fucking hood conservative spelt wrong up here. God goddamn Negroes. Y'all just let that
Did you?
shit run.
I didn't even look.
Y'all just let that shit run.
Totally didn't even notice. All right, let me run this
Damn it.
clip for you guys. So this is Manning Johnson with just a few short words about communism. Now you got to understand, this is a guy speaking. I want to say somewhere around the 1920s. I'm not 100% sure, but it's in the 20s, somewhere of that era.
And there are certain people who are using the Negro in order to establish that power in Washington. And the Negro is just merely a pawn. It is our duty to arrest this development toward the concentration and centralization of power in Washington. If we do not arrest this development, then we're on the road to dictatorship. At the root of all racial unrest in the country is the clammy, cold, bloody hand of communism. We must arrest it, and we must try to bring America back to sanity. And let us pray and work that this understanding, the bitterness, the hate, and the frustration, and the tension that exists may disappear, and that the Spirit of God, the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of charity may prevail again amongst our people.
Now that was from what was his farewell address. I forget exactly the name of the group he was speaking to. Without that, the full length of that video would be like Manuel Johnson, Manning Johnson's farewell address, and he was, I think, killed not too long after that.
So, well, we don't have people like him around anymore, right? If we do, they're not going to make themselves visible or heard, because they probably wouldn't get a lot of play. They wouldn't get a lot of airplay. But do you think that what he says has validity, and is it does it have validity in 2022?
Probably even more so in 2022, because the plan has progressed all this time since then.
Hmm. So do you think that, because we talk about, well, I hear, that, us as black people, we've come a long way. We've made progress. I've heard all this stuff. Do you think that that's a thing? I mean, have we made this quote unquote progress that you hear many speaking of? Do you think we've made progress within society, within how other people perceive us, how other people deal with us? Have we made any progress?
Well, yes and no. We've made progress materially. I don't know that we've progressed socially, and that's the critical thing. Material is one aspect of it, but you know what? And not to get biblical, but what good is the world if you sold your soul?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to, right? Like, I mean, because I think when you talk about these famous folks who done had their damn prejudice privileges revoked, all right, I don't think they sell their souls by the shit that they said. I think they sell their souls when they apologize, when they go on the apology tour, and when they, you know, don't stand on, whatever it is they believe. Because you have a right to believe whatever you want to believe. I mean, me personally, I don't have a problem with people being prejudiced. I mean, be as prejudiced as you want, but just don't bitch because other people are. That's my thing. I mean, be as prejudiced as you want, be as discriminatory as you want, but you can't bitch because other people are too. You can't bitch because other people think the same way about you that you think about them. And that is the crux of this whole prejudice privilege thing. You're allowed to think and say whatever the hell you want, but no one can say or think it about you. No one can think you're bad. No one can think you're evil. No one can think, you know, you're negative or you're a blight on society. But you reserve the right to think all those things about other people, man. That's
The phrase there's actually a word for that. I think the phrase is demi-Jews,
mm,
like a demigod, you know, a mini god. Black
mhm.
people are the mini Jews of you know America or the world at large, maybe even. But we're not Jews full on and outright. But you know, we have that demi-Jew status. You know, don't fuck with us, so we're gonna get our big homies involved.
So if someone fucks with us, we're gonna what? We're gonna be able to what? Go and get some Jewish people to help us? Like what the
Fucking all right, all right. I refer to the civil rights movement again.
but if we fuck with him now, he'll put us in line too, right? If we
Hey,
fuck up.
hey, well, this is the other side of it, right? Listen, you have brothers and sisters or whatever. You know how it is. Only person allowed to rough up my little brother is me.
Okay, okay, okay. I guess that's what it is, though, right? It makes perfect sense what you're saying, brotherhood conservative, because we, like I said, we allowed to, say whatever the fuck we want to say, and do whatever we want to do, and talk all kinds of shit about people. But if those other people do that shit to us, it's a fucking problem. And the crazy thing is that, especially when you're talking about, because we're talking about TV personalities, right? When you talk about a TV personality, they will feel the fucking wrath from the higher ups, all right, in the skyscraper. The person with the office on the 100th floor. They will feel the wrath from that person as well, just like you said, because see, only they are allowed to put black folks in their place. They're not gonna let you do it. But God damn it, they damn sure will do it if they are offended by black people. If they're offended by what black people have said, they will rough black people up. Taking that check, taking that show, sitting your ass down, canceling your shit. All right.
Buy your
All of that.
neighborhood. We're
Yeah.
gonna buy up your block and move you
Buy
niggas
your
to the
neighborhood.
projects.
Buy your neighborhood. Yeah, they'll sit your ass down. But they won't allow other people to fuck with black people though. They won't. Like I said, you get up on that TV show and say something crazy about black folks, they'll sit your ass down too. They'll sit your ass down too, unless you're black. Now, if you black, you can get away with saying certain shit about black people. I remember you sent me a clip. You sent me a clip a while back, and I actually used it to make a video. In fact, let me go ahead and pull that motherfucker up. Let me go and pull that the fuck up. You sent me a clip a while back, and it was Melissa Harris Perry. It was Deborah Cooper. It was Michael Eric Dyson, and a few other notable, famous black folk, right? And, they sat up there and said some of the most counterintuitive shit about black people that you can fucking ever imagine. They were going in on how black fathers aren't important, how black people don't necessarily benefit, the whole Christina Cross shit, right? How black people don't really benefit from fathers, the way anybody else does. The kid will be fine because mom has money. Um, One guy was up there talking about, hey, it's a good thing my father left because if he had stayed, my life would have been horrible. So, but these are all black folks, right? These are all black folks saying this stuff, okay? All black folks. Now, imagine if a white person would have got up there and started talking about how black folks don't need fathers, how black folks, a nuclear family. I think Michael Eric Dyson said something to the effect that a nuclear family will react in a nuclear way, I think he said. And, you had Melissa Harris Perry up there talking about, well, my kid, she has a good father, but, she would be fine even if he wasn't around because I got money and education and all this bullshit. All right. Y'all need to go check that video out.
But before you get to this clip, can I just ask some questions? And I kind of need to respond on what you're saying right now, because
Go ahead.
what never gets addressed in that whole black families don't need fathers, my kid's fine without a dad. Like, yeah, there are the one-off situations where, like, individually speaking, yes, your life may have been materially in fact better because your father was such a bad guy that not having him around would have been a plus. Like, I can accept that reality for some people. However, on the whole, when you make this wide statement that black people in general don't need fathers in the home, what they never really get to address is this fundamental problem. And this is kind of why you see, like, the violence and the crime and just the sort of discontinuity of family tradition. Well, what is the role of men in a society if they have no place in the home?
Yes. Yes. But see, this is the thing. That particular clip, I know you noticed already because you're the one who sent it to me, but that particular clip, the reason why they were having that new segment is because a white man came up on a show and said the reason we have all this crime is because of lack of fathers. That's what the white man was saying. He was saying that the reason that you have all this crime and anti authority and anti cop mentality is because in the inner cities, there are no fathers. That's what he was talking about. And that white man, the white man y'all see on the screen right now, actually had to resign because he said it. He had to resign because he said there needs to be fathers in these homes. He didn't say nigger. He didn't say monkey. He didn't say ape. He didn't say any of that. All he said was there's an anti cop mentality that has contaminated America's inner cities due to lack of fathers in the homes. Now, I guess people perceive that as being racist or prejudiced, right? I mean, that's why they forced him to resign, right? They thought he was being prejudiced against black people, right? I mean, come on. Come on. That's why he was forced to freaking leave his post because
Well,
he told a truth that people didn't want to hear.
and right there, a truth that people didn't want to hear. Earlier today, I was on the Bernard Riley show. Shout out to Bernard Riley. We had a great show. It just kind of went straight to members only though, because we talk about a bunch of wild stuff. but it was about wokeness, and particularly we kind of dived into like black wokeness, how this wokeness stuff kind of affects black people. And I had to play a clip of Oswald Bates, that In Living Color character that Damon Wayans played. You know, the prison guy was talking all that
Mhm.
blackity
Yeah,
black shit.
yeah. Yeah, all
And
the
I basically,
knowledge guy.
right, yeah, he was kicking knowledge, right. And I was making a point how, like, that guy has now become a real guy, and he's, got authority and power and whatnot. And the thing is, like, when it comes to this woke stuff, black people were we are the bleeding edge of wokeness at this point. Well, not any longer, but like we were at one point the bleeding edge of all this woke stuff. Really, a lot of that shit did sort of, gestate in the black community in particular, and maybe to a certain degree in some other places, but it was very much in black America when it comes to like a rejection of accepted norms and realities, because that's what
Mhm.
woke is really at its heart, is just just categoric rejection of accepted norms. And so, like, when you get to these kinds of characters talking all this goofy racial stuff, it's kind of obvious to me, like, yeah, this woke stuff's crept into black America first, and now we're kind of feeling the effects of it. And that's why this guy was saying what he was saying about the lack of fathers in the inner city.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and no one can deny that there is a lack of fathers, all right? I mean, no one can deny it, because wherever there's a statistic, okay, when it comes to black folks, it's even worse in the inner cities, man. People talk about, 70% of kids being born out of wedlock. I think in the inner cities it's creeping up to like 75 and possibly 80 if you concentrate on the inner cities. Now, don't quote me on that because I haven't read the data in a while, but I think if you're in the inner city areas, it's worse. All right. Whatever issues or challenges that black people have everywhere else, in the inner cities, it's worse. All right,
Well,
it just
let me
is.
let me speak to that real quick too, because I think this is something other writers have commented on. Obsidian references this book a lot, The Different Black Americas, something like that. I forget exactly who wrote it, but it was basically, talking about how Black America is two or three different groups. And what I think might be happening at a rapid pace too is like one element of Black America, like the upper class, relatively, upper middle class, elite kind of Black America, they're gonna maintain some kind of level of social stability, some form of it, while the poor and the lower class and poverty, where there used to be at least, family stability even through poverty, that's going to get eviscerated at a certain point.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, I don't know, man. I just think that walking around thinking that it's okay for you to just be this hateful fucking person and then cry the fucking blues when people show you hate. I mean, to me, that's just stupid. All right. I think you're in a better position to bitch about the hate if you're not a hateful person yourself. All right. I mean, you can't, you can't shoot at the police and then cry because they shot your ass. I mean, that this kind of stuff, man. Like, I mean, you can't expect people to treat you well while you reserve the right to treat them like shit. All right. Because the reason why you're doing it is why, right? You do this because you think these people are evil, you think these people are out to get you, you think these people are whatever, right? You think that. And that's fine that you think that. So how can you go into shock when they do certain things that you see as offensive or bigoted or prejudiced, You should expect this, right? Because the reason why you have these prejudices against these people is because they're evil, they're wrong, they're manipulative, they're all this stuff. That's what you think about this particular group of people. So if they do something that rides along the lines of what you think, why are you shocked? You should expect them to do this, right? Because you have these views of them because of their evil nature, their deviant nature. So if you see something evil and deviant, you shouldn't be surprised, right? It should be expected. That's why you're prejudiced against them in the first place. It's just that a lot of this shit just doesn't make sense. All right. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think it helps us. I mean, what has this shit gotten us, brotherhood conservative? What has it gotten us? I want somebody to tell me, what has it gotten us, man?
A low marriage rate, a high divorce rate, an unprecedented level of bickering, and a lack of affection between the respective sexes, and at times extreme and intense and grotesque spurts of violence across the different black precincts, dysfunction between the generations. There is no respect for there is no respect that the youth have for the elderly, or not. Let me not say elderly, but no respect for your forefathers. Like, and this is one of the things that personally bothers me, just because of my own shit that I got going on. But I think about what the lack of fathers in the community means, and what you really have been like robbed of as men, as boys, as sons, right, as fathers. And and especially when you see people sit around, the so-called smart intellectual people, and they sit around and discuss these ideas as if they really know, as if they have actual validity, or not validity, but evidence to back up what they're saying. And ultimately, what I know, what I experience, and what I kind of see and can extrapolate from other people's lives and experiences is a very cold reality, right? When
Mhm.
you don't have fathers raising sons and passing along that continuous line of, even if it's just family tradition, in the sense that my father did this and his father before him, he did this, and his father before him did that. Like, the story, even if it was just a story. Like, your great great grandfather was just a guy who worked in a coal mine, but he worked hard enough to pay for a house and have some kids, and his son was working in a fucking coal mine, and now you're a long line of fucking coal miners. Like, you're just a bunch of regular guys. Like, that's not a wonderful history worth the storybooks, but it's your fucking history. It's your family, and you can hold on to it. You can take pride in it. You now have stories to pass on to your son about who he is and who made him and why he's valuable. And without that, that's what the black community is. We have no sense of continuity. We have no sense of a respect for historical lineage. And obviously not all, but on the whole, when we're talking about a group of people who have turned their back on the concept of fatherhood as, like, a patriarchal system, I think that's a very, very, that's a giant hole in the community. That lack of continuity between men. And this is something I get to too, is something I think about as well when we talk about, like, the violence of young black men towards one another, and even like the violence that black men have towards each other just on these in these YouTube streets.
Yeah.
There is no general sense of respect for your fellow man because your father was not enough of a figure to instill this kind of idea in you. And that's why it's so easy for the kids, the young men especially, to go out, or even the young women increasingly now, but it's so easy for them to go out and essentially not just harm one another, but to just have a casual sense of disrespect for one another. And it's all in our music. You know, not only are we killing each other in our own music, but we're almost in a competition to fuck each other's wives and girlfriends in our own music. And I think a lot of this stems from a lack of internal order that having something like, one, having a father personally in your home will give you, and then two, having that system as a culture around you. So even if you may happen to be one of the few kids who just by circumstance your dad is, you know, not in the house, you still kind of have that overarching system where everyone else is kind of on that same page. And I think we've kind of been robbed of that. That is one of the fundamental invisible building blocks of like a strong community, that internal sense of brotherhood, like that like blackness is something that was given to us to replace that loss of that fatherhood loss. That's really what I think, why that sense of blackness has been so heavily imposed on the black male in particular, because you have to fucking artificially impose a sense of brotherhood on a group of young men who otherwise have no internal relationship to the concept.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that that quote unquote brotherhood slash unity slash collective that has been slid in there as a substitute for the missing fathers. Um and I don't think it's necessarily a good substitute for that. Um I mean, I was raised by my father, and my dad, he wasn't perfect, but I'd like to think that I'm the person that I am because of him. All right. I mean, my father taught me a lot of shit, man. He taught me how to stand on my own, go for what I want, work for what I want. He taught me how to save, invest. He taught me how to do business. He taught me to stand on my fucking decisions and don't rely on others. I mean, these are the things I was taught, from a very, very young boy. So I just kind of grew into him, like a puppy grows into his feet. You get this puppy and his goddamn feet are the size of your fist. All right. He has to grow into those feet. And I think that that's something that fathers do for young men, man. They put those big feet on you, man, and you grow into them. And I think a lot of people, within black society, they have they have circled the wagons around an idea that fatherhood or fathers or fathering isn't that important. It's not that important. Because there's always the what if and the what aboutism, right? Oh, what if your father's an abuser? What if he beats your mother? What if he beats you? What if he's a drunk? What if he's this? And to be honest with you, if a man has fathered children and he productively raises those children, I wouldn't even give a shit if he took a few drinks every now and then, because I know I did when I was raising mine, and I do it now. When it comes to my nephew and my grandson, every now and then you need a shot to kind of deal with what's going on. But it's always this. Well, you don't really need a father, because what if your father cheats on your mother? What if your father, has other women? What if your father has this, has that going on in his life? And I don't think that a lot of that stuff matters when it comes to the children. I mean, if he's a decent father, I don't give a shit if he cheats on his wife. I don't think those two things go hand in hand. All right. Now it's different. If he's an abusive guy and he's beating on the woman in front of the kids and all that kind of stuff, that's something else. But if he's a womanizer, I don't think that necessarily makes him a bad father. I don't think it necessarily makes him a bad father because he doesn't he doesn't fulfill the quote unquote husband role, because fathers can be good fathers even if they don't live with the children. All right, that's kind of something that a father can do. He can still be a decent dad and not live with his kids. So I think that we've been held prisoner with this whole, an absent father doesn't mean anything. And if you got a father who ain't the perfect man for your old mammy, it's better to just not have a father at all. I think what we've done is we've got it confused that, to be a good father, you also have to be a good husband. You have to be a good boyfriend. You have to be a good whatever, because all of that is wrapped up in being a good father. And I just don't believe that shit. All right. You can not like the old mammy, and that ain't got shit to do with how you raise your children. But go ahead.
Well, that's another thing too. I was thinking about like the image of fatherhood without actual fathers present will essentially be like fatherhood or manhood as seen through the eyes of women.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
when you start listening to like a red pill sort of content and just pro male content in general, you you hear a certain idea where it's like it's a bad idea for you as a man to like let women draw your image, so to speak. Like it's always a negative thing, and I don't even know if women necessarily mean to do it per se, but it's like women's like there's almost a meme going around like anytime you hear a woman describe her version of a good man, she's always talking about a simp. And
Hmm.
essentially what they're getting at is that it maybe is just the way the female mind kind of processes masculinity or something, but in their mind a version of a good man is almost always something that is like self-serving. It's almost a selfish definition when they give it. And so for them to teach that to like children, boys and girls, I think what they're doing is giving a skewed version of what men actually should or could be. And that will have effects on the children that are raised in this way.
Yeah, I mean, we I just think that a lot of times, man, when it comes to us as black people, man, I think we really try really, really hard to make shit that's abnormal. We try to make that shit the norm. I mean, because see, we don't want to be accused of what? We don't want to be accused of being like white people. We don't want to be accused of being like uh we don't want to be accused of being like Asians. We don't want to be accused of being like the Africans. We don't want to be accused of being like the Latinos. We don't want to be accused of being like other people. It's like we gotta do things, and oftentimes we do things that are against our own interests just to prove that we're not doing things the way whites do it. We're not doing things the way Africans do it. We're not doing things the way Latinos do it or Haitians do it. Or, we're always out to prove that we're not doing shit like other people, even if it means doing some shit that's counterproductive to us. Like, We're willing to embrace the counterproductivity just to stand on that fucking hill and die on it and say, well, we might be fucked up, but we're not like white folks. We're not like Latino folks. We're not like the Africans. We're not like the Asians. I mean, it's stupid.
I think I think I was on your show actually, and I was getting into a kind of heated discussion with a couple of guys, and I was telling them like, listen, sell me the concept of blackness. Like you kind of fight for it and you defend it, and you know you accuse me of all kinds of shit because I don't hold on to it as tightly as you do. So I want you to like sell it to me like I'm buying a toaster. And they couldn't. And the thing about it, and what kind of kills me about this whole way of thinking, it's like, what is the value of all this so-called, like, what is the value of doing things the black way if you can't actually show me the value in the black way? Like that's kind of the weird circular trap. Like you just want people to do things for the sake of, you know, this mythical notion of blackness, but is it actually productive? Is it actually going to buy you something in the real world? Is it going to construct something useful for you in your personal life? And that's where the rubber hits the road. And this is why I take such issue with that whole way of thinking and all the posturing and politics that comes out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, you can't just sit up and tell me, man, do shit the quote unquote black way, right? Unless you can show me uh some result of doing it the black way and how it's helped black people and how it will help me. You know, just do it the black way, well, the quote unquote black way, because I don't really think it's all these different kind of ways to do shit. But you can't tell me to do this thing the black way just for the simple fact of doing it the black way. That doesn't make sense, and that's what I hear from a lot of people. I don't hear from everybody, because I actually, I'm familiar with people who actually do real shit, okay, for black people. All right, do real shit for black people, not get up here and make YouTube videos. I mean, really do shit for black people in the real world. All right, really do shit, really help black people, really help the community, really look out for kids. There are people who really do that. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the overwhelming majority of motherfuckers that are on YouTube and thinking their fucking YouTube channel is the NAACP, it's the fucking March of Dimes, it's the United Negro College Fund. It's all this shit that does all these things for black people because they get up here and talk a bunch of bullshit and say hit the cash app every 20 fucking minutes. They think that they're actually doing shit for black folks because they do that. A lot of these motherfuckers who so-called claim they do shit for black folks, they don't even give black folks a good visual show. It's just them and they fucking avatar talking. They don't even do that for black folks. Give them something nice visual to look at. All right? They don't even do that. But boy, they will swear up and down that they motherfucking channel is fucking community outreach. Yeah, it's the community outreach. It's the fucking NAACP. It's the goddamn black folks law library. Just listen to me and you'll know all the shit you need to know about black people. Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few motherfuckers like that. Quite a few. And it's fine for them to think that. But motherfucker, I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that about your channel or mine. Because see, I know I don't have all the fucking answers. All right? I don't have all the answers. But we got people up here who think they got all the answers to everything. They are like I say, the all-seeing, the all-knowing. They're the most knowledgeable. They're the smartest. They're the most intelligent person on YouTube. And that's fine. Be the most intelligent motherfucker on YouTube. But please explain to me most intelligent fucking person on YouTube. How has you being the most intelligent person on YouTube helped any fucking body? Tell me that. But go ahead, Brotherhood Conservative. You got it. Oh, you know what? Before I think Hood Conservative might have mic is still muted, y'all. I want to show y'all something. Oh, he said he'd be right back. All right. I want y'all to listen to this right here, man, for a few moments. This is Melissa Harris Perry here in the crew. I just want y'all to listen to a few moments of it. Just bear with me. Humor me, folks. Me.
Nobody likes floppy
God
things.
damn
We
it.
the people holsters.
Had to have a commercial on my shit. Here we go. My kid would be just fine. Amazing.
Well, look, absolutely right. I mean, the reality is that we want healthy families, not nuclear families. Anything nuclear is bound to react ultimately anyway.
Anything nuclear is ultimately going to react anyway. Now, this man here is a scholar, and I respect his intelligence. But for him to come up here and say, oh, the nuclear family, it's bound to react anyway. This is an educated, schooled man, a professor. This man is one of the greatest black intellectuals that we are aware of, allegedly. And he will sit up here and talk about how the nuclear family will react in a nuclear way. Let's continue.
So what's interesting is
Explosively.
yes, exactly. So the thing is
And
that
Madam Perry had to add explosively, even though that's not the case with her or her child. But she had to throw that in there to compound the narrative that he's about to lay out right now. Let's listen.
if we have as an outcome, a potential outcome here, the healthiness mentally and spiritually and morally of this child, or the mother who is the primary caretaker, or the father, then it says that that relationship may be destructive and therefore we have to leave it. But don't forget here that we got this Christian narrative that's been interpolated within the context of African-American culture, where you got a lot of conservative black people on a Sunday morning going like, yep, the problem is, including women, we need the daddy in the house, because when the daddy has the authority, then the child will be blessed and the family will be healthy. So what we're fighting against is not simply social pathology that has been articulated by Daniel Moynihan. We're talking about the bishop and the reverend and the minister who is expressing a theological justification for some
Now,
of the
Brother
most
Dyson, you know goddamn well that most black preachers do not preach family or fathers or fathering or marriage. A lot of these black ass preachers, all they preach is you can do bad by yourself. All they preach is, girl, you gotta pray for your husband. That's what they preach. They're not preaching keep the father in the home even though he's abusive. They're not preaching keep the father in the home at all, because they know if they preach fathering, their goddamn revenue will go down. Because most black men will walk in that church and be like, man, pastor, this is some bullshit you talking right now. I'm taking my wife and my kids up out of here. So I don't know what black churches he goes to, but I'm pretty sure most of the black churches today are filled with what? Black women. So is the church really perpetuating a message of marriage and fathering, Professor Dyson? Are they really? I suggest you go to a few of these black churches if you haven't been to any, and look around. Look who's sitting in those seats. And then ask yourself, are these preachers, pastors, ministers, and bishops preaching family? Preaching black men being in the home? Or even preaching marriage? Come on, brother. Knock it off. 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 Knock it off.
Dark Exodus.
We talking about the bishop and the reverend and the minister who is expressing
Oh, so the preachers are also justifying it by way of theology, all of this violence that's going on domestically inside the black home. Because see, when a black man's in there, the climate is so violent. It's extremely violent when a black man inhabits it.
justification for some of the most violent consequences of black domestic realities in the country.
We done put Michael Eric Dyson on TV at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, so you know church was going to happen.
Church. This was BS. Nobody in here was preaching, lady. And I guarantee you, there's 5 people sitting around that table. And I guarantee you, at least 3 of them was raised by baby mamas. If not all of them. This is what we have. These are the people who talk about this crap. Always some black woman. Usually she's raised by an old baby mama. And black men who are usually raised by some old baby mama. So of course they're going to get up there and say, well, you know, we don't really need fathers. No one should be talking about fatherhood. No one should be discussing that at all, because guess what? Just because you got a father doesn't mean you're going to turn out to be a decent person. Just because you got a father doesn't mean you're not going to grow up to be a killer, rapist, bank robber, thief, carjacker. No. That slightest little chance of you becoming a miscreant when you have a father is enough to have a whole God damn it, I got too many commercials on my shit, y'all. I got too many commercials on my shit. Go ahead and break this down. You got something you want to show up?
Nah, you was going on a nice epic rant. You had the music playing in the background. This shit was like a mixtape speech from Farrakhan. It was going good. It was going good.
All right, well, I guess we can finish it out then. It's only like, I think, another minute of it left, I think. I think it's only like another minute of it left. Let me just get past this damn commercial. Hold on. Oh, all right, let me get this. Silence this. About how fathers aren't as important as everyone claims they are. That doesn't make any sense. Not to me. Now, mind you, I'll say again. Lady Perry here said she has a decent father that she loves. She says her child has a decent father that loves that child. She even said he was a great father, even though he was a horrible husband. So I don't see where the correlation of someone being a horrible mate also means they are a horrible father, which she even said herself. She makes the point herself. But you know, this is media. This is black folks. And these are the things we hear from black folk. And these aren't just, like I said, regular black folks. They're not sitting in a barber shop. They're sitting on a major network news program. Millions of people watching. And what's the message? Fathers aren't as important as you think. I'm so disappointed, because this is why we have the narratives that we have. Because even the educated, schooled, scholarly Black people push this damn notion that who needs a father? Needs a father? Needs a father? Because guess what? Your father may be abusive. He may beat your mom. He may beat you. So that alone negates all the evidence of how good Black fathers are. That alone should make women weary about having a father in a child's life, because the thought of her very safety being jeopardized is way more important than the development of the children.
Next, we have a little bit more on this, because I want to talk about some of Nerdland's favorite Black but not magical dads.
Black but not magical dads. Wow. This is what we have, people. Like I told y'all the other night when we streamed, people like Christina Cross are not alone. And these are the upper echelon of Black folks. These are college professors, journalists, writers, reporters, people who write books and have television programs. Now, mind you, I believe this was, obviously this was back in like 2013, 2014 when she did this, but it's active now. These things are going on now. And to be honest with you, I'm actually glad that she left television, because television is a big, big outlet. Millions of people watching every single day. Millions watching. So what kind of influence does she have? How many people's minds did she change? Melissa Perry and company up there. You see them. How much influence did they have when they did this? Something to think about, isn't it? But we out of here. Once again, man, shout out to the Hood Conservative, man, for sending me this. This stuff is crazy, man. As long as we can sit back and diminish Black men, no one gives a damn. Even though the statistics say Black men are the best fathers. They beat out Latinos, they beat out white men, they beat out Asians. When they're in a child's life, their lives are just better off. The kid's going to be better off. Black men spend more time with their children than white men do. Asian men do. Latino men do. Even when the father doesn't live with the child. As a matter of fact, take a look at these stats here. I will leave y'all with these stats. You can look at them for yourself. And who knows? Maybe I'll send a copy to the Black intelligentsia that we just witnessed. Peace, folks. Peace, folks. Peace, we out. Peace, folks. Peace, folks. Peace, folks. Enough. Yeah. So, I did that back in the day, I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, did I even shout the Hood Conservative out for, I was listening to it. I was like, damn, I was trying to remember if I had shouted you out for sending me the shit, but I did. So I'm cool.
Nah, we good, we good. And listen, I got a great follow up to that. This is like the Moynihan Report Part 2. Like what the daughters of those babies, what they're doing now with their motherhood. And so like this is a birthday party for what appears to be some kids with no daddies at home.
Surprised our son with a party bus for his 8th birthday. Got them alcohol-free daiquiri and non-alcoholic bottles.
They're popping bottles early.
Picked up his cake, and the party began. When that first
Got them sitting around like they're in the club or something. Like this whole thing just, I don't know. I know why I don't like it because I actually played this earlier, but I was curious as to like get somebody else's thoughts on what they're seeing here.
Well, you already know. I think it's insanity, but continue.
Okay. Guess I'm not alone.
first drinks kick in.
Let me cut the music a little because just in case.
Yeah. So we don't fuck around and get copyrighted and shit.
Right. Now, this was the most egregious part right here. This part just killed it for me because, you know, symbolism is everything. You got your kids a party bus with a stripper pole.
Yeah. With a stripper pole. But people will tell you it doesn't matter what your parents do. You know, none of that matters. Your development as a child is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if your parents put you in ridiculous situations. You'll eventually grow out of it, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Good luck, kids. Now I want to focus on right here. What's this kid doing? I would love for somebody to explain this scene for me. What are the kids doing?
They're doing what they see their mama do at the house.
Is
mom got
this what they saw?
Hole in the living room.
Is this what they learned at Bring Your Kid to Work Day? Is this what happened when you went to mommy's job? Is this how you saw how the bills get paid?
They saw mom at work. They're like, yeah, this is what I be seeing mom do. Either that or she got a stripper pole in the living room.
It could be that too. It could be both. Be stripper poles all over the place. It'd be stripper poles in the bathroom, stripper poles in the closet, stripper poles everywhere you could hide one nowadays.
Yeah.
Got them looking like little rap niggas and shit. Like, oh my God, they in there popping bottles in the VIP. Look, take it to the head, take it to the head.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. It's like a little hip hop video right here.
And you know, I guess to some people this kind of shit is perfectly all right. I mean,
and like
nothing wrong.
That's the weird thing, and it's subtle too, because on the one hand, I mean, it's not like, you know, they're out, I don't know, like playing with guns or you know, I don't know, they're not doing anything that's like straight up over the top egregious, but there's just like weird like images and visuals here that I don't care to see. Like, I don't want they're like 8 years old. I don't want my 8 years old in the club. Like, my 8-year-old don't need to be in the club on a stripper pole dancing around the stripper pole. Like, and this is his birthday too, and he's gonna always remember that one time his mom he was the stripper at his own party.
Yeah, man,
like,
that's my take.
Not cool.
It's like the theme. To me, this is just the wrong theme for children.
They're all dancing around the stripper pole. Look at this. Hold on, look, go back. Look, they all just did Ring Around the Rosie with the stripper pole, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, it's a themed party, but why not it be the Avengers theme or Spider-Man or I don't know, something else. All right, something else. I get it. It's a whole theme, it's a club and it's a stripper pole and all that kind of nonsense. I just think this is the wrong theme for children. This is the wrong type of theme. I mean, I think I think kids should be allowed to be kids. And I think what often happens, man, as parents, we don't allow the kids to be kids. Where we're putting them in these fucking predicaments and situations that a lot of adults aren't even suited for, let alone small children. We put them in these damn situations, man. We put them, in these instances, and then we wonder, why they're disrespectful. We wonder why they don't have respect for authority or adults in their family or adults in the school or adults at the bus stop or the bus driver or we wonder why they lack, these basic, these basic things, these basic tenets. We wonder why they don't have them is because, we study taking them and, treating them like they're fucking adults. We're putting them in these fucking situations like they're fucking adults. So you're actually making the fucking kid think he's equal to you as an adult because of the situations that you're putting him in. And you wonder why this little motherfucker is disrespectful. You wonder why this little motherfucker won't listen to the teacher or the bus driver or adults in his family. You wonder why. Because you give him a fucking party with a goddamn a strip club theme. That's why. I mean, this shit is crazy, man. This shit is crazy.
Listen, when you fall in love with a stripper, your baby is gonna be born on the pole.
Yeah, we wonder why these motherfuckers grow up to rob liquor stores and shit and knock old ladies in the head in the subway and shit and the carjack. All right. Because of the shit that they've internalized, man, over the course of their childhood, man. It's like a lot of times, man, these kids, number one, they never had a chance. A lot of these kids, man, never had a fucking chance, man, for the
Damn.
simple fact of the people they're being raised by, if you can call it raising.
The other day I was joking around with some ideas, and I came with this idea that board games, like Monopoly, Risk, Life, board games, right?
Yeah.
Those are like things for families that are like intact families, families with dads. Because you don't really, like single moms ain't fucking around with that shit. It was like a little joke I was playing around with, but I kind of thought about it and I'm like, damn, I wonder if it feels like there's some truth to that shit. I don't think I've seen that shit in a lot of single moms' houses that I've been around. And I'm wondering now if in the future, like when I was a kid, we used to climb trees. But like, will kids in the future, will they be like, "Dad, I remember when I was a kid, we used to be swinging on my mama's stripping pole and shit." Like, oh shit, you remember that? We used to be laughing, playing on my mama's stripping pole. Like, can you just think about that for a minute? Like, that will be these kids' future memories, swinging
Yeah, that's
around
the
on the
memory.
stripper pole.
Yeah. You remember, man, I had that party and it was like a nightclub and there was a stripper pole in there and, you know, and it's one of them little ass hands in there. Are they throwing money in the, are they making it rain in the lower right-hand corner or am I just seeing that long? Let me put my glasses.
Nah, they counting money. They didn't actually make it
Oh, okay.
rain. I didn't
Okay,
see that
nice.
exactly. I mean, they might have, but I didn't see it. They didn't cut that one into the video, but I'm just
Oh,
wondering
okay.
because the image does look like that because
Yeah.
he's up here and you down there, you got the money in your hand, you down there with money. It looked like you was just dropping money on him. So who knows how that really played out in real life, but thank God for editing.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't I don't think this is a good idea, man. I think this is the wrong theme to have uh for young boys. I think the young boys should have a different kind of theme. If you want to give them a theme party, that's fine. But I just don't think this is the theme, some strip club shit. I think that's totally inappropriate and out of fucking place. But
Well, I gotta say one thing. If you're gonna get the kids a party bus and a stripper pole and all these little fake bottles, you at least got to get them a hookah. I mean, like, what kind of bum ass bitch gonna do all of this and not buy him a hookah at least? Like, come on, man. This is what I be saying. Y'all be half stepping.
At least one, right?
That's what I'm saying. Let them get their little fake puff on. We faking everything else tonight.
Well, I'll tell you, we're gonna do a fast forward leap because I actually already have it queued up. We're going to do a fast forward leap, y'all. We're gonna show y'all 20 years in the future of many of these boys. All right, this is 20 years in the future, y'all.
I know this video. And here we go.
Put my shit back on this fucking porch. Yeah. I saw you when you got out the motherfucking car. You're trying to put my shit back on this motherfucking porch. Sure. You done lost your motherfucking mind. You don't come up on my shit and take my shit. You got it. You lucky. You got it. You lucky. You got it. Motherfucker.
See, that is them 20 years from now. Not the guy with the not the guy with the assault rifle, but the guy in the gray suit. That's them in 20 years. Walking
that
around.
old guy. The old guy wasn't raised on the stripper pole. You can tell. He played board games and everything when he was a little kid.
Oh, yeah. He played board games because he came out that motherfucker like, yo, man, put my fucking shit back on my porch, motherfucker. And he came out there with that motherfucking heater, too. Put my shit back, motherfucker. He didn't even ask him what he was doing. You know how somebody come out, yo, man, what you doing? Nope. He just came out with his fucking AK and said, put my shit back. Put my shit back right now, motherfucker. And guess what he did? He turned right around and put that shit back. I want to show y'all, let's show it again. I want to show y'all black unity. I'll show y'all y'all will see black loyalty in a minute. Y'all see the guy walking up, right? He just gonna walk up to the man's shit, grab his shit, right? Grab his shit.
Put my shit back on this fucking porch. Yeah.
Peep the car that he got out of. Peep the fucking car.
I saw you when you got out the motherfucking car. You're trying to put my shit back on this motherfucker.
The person in the car is like, I'm fucking out of here.
All right. Here's a question. And I want to do a poll in the chat. All right. Put a 1 if you think the car stopped at the next corner and waited, or put a 2 if you think he kept going and never looked back.
He saw that motherfucker come out there with that motherfucking assault rifle. He was like, man, I'm out. You're on your own. He said, you're on your own. Shit. See? That's what I'm talking about, man. I mean, we talk this bullshit all the time, man. And you seen both of those people? Both of those people were black. That motherfucker made it his business to get out of a car that was on the road. He obviously eyeballed that man's package, got out of the car, walked in that man's yard and grabbed that man's shit. And I'm pretty sure he knew the motherfucker that lived there was a black person. I'm pretty sure he did. So when people like to talk this, we all black shit, like, it seems like it only matters on YouTube. That's the only time it matters. This we all black shit. Because every time I turn around, I see black people doing fucked up shit to other black people. Will somebody please fucking explain that? Will somebody please fucking explain why most of the shit I see getting done to black folks is done by other black folks? Oh yeah, I forgot proximity. I keep forgetting proximity. Yeah, that's the word they use. But if we love each other so much, we should be giving each other hugs, right? Not bullets, not crime, not killing, not stabbing, not shooting, right?
This is what I wonder about that whole thing. And you know, we were talking earlier about cognitive dissonance, right? Why is it so hard for people who are on like the pro-black side to grapple with certain realities? Like, if this black unity thing was really such a force, and if white people were really so like hell-bent on holding us back, why is it that on the ground it seems like black people, not all, but you know, in a lot of instances, black people seem to be more violent toward one another, more aggressive toward one another, and essentially we seem to really, you know how like the so-called black Republicans or conservative blacks will get called a coon or a self-hating black, more importantly, right? Why is it these types of people that get called self-hating more than the obviously dysfunctional black people, or the black people who are like more aggressive towards other black people who spent their entire career essentially preying on their fellow black people? Those people never get called self-hating. I think that's one of those weird cognitive dissonances that we just keep running up into.
Mhm. I mean, because like I said, man, we always see black people doing other shit to black people, and then we quick to tell people that, you know, the white man trying to kill you, the white man trying to hunt you, the white man want to lynch you, you know, and all this kind of bullshit. We hear all this shit, but we see something else. I mean, we hear all this bullshit, but we see something else. I want to show y'all something. Let me do this. I want to show y'all something because I do this for a particular reason. I have something, and those of you who follow the Popular Thought series, y'all already know what I'm going to do. So y'all just like, oh boy, he about to show that damn picture. I got this mural behind me, right, that I keep here. And I keep this mural for a reason, all right? Behind me are 4 of the many black babies who were murdered during the 4th of July weekend in 2020. Now, people will tell you about you should keep your damn head on a swivel for the white man. And, you know, you've even had celebrities like LeBron James says, oh, we're being hunted. And you hear all this shit about what the white man gonna do to you and how you should be concerned about them and all this so kind of nonsense. But I look at these babies here, man. No white people killed these babies. Not one of these babies was killed by white people. In fact, Natalie here, Natalie Wallace, little Natalie Wallace, I had her father on the show. And he talked about his baby and talked about her death and talked about the violence. She was just playing in the front yard, dead. These kids playing in the playground, playing in the park, playing in their front yards, dead. And every time one of these babies, because you know what the average age of these kids are here behind me? 7. These are 6 and 7-year-olds, y'all. Gunned down, dead, just being children, just being kids, just playing in the yard, playing in the park. Shot dead. And these same Negroes that would kill one of these babies, if the cops shoot one of them Negroes, you fucking people will be out there marching for this Negro. The same Negro who done murdered one of these kids. But if the police put a bullet in his ass, the first thing y'all be saying is, oh, they didn't have to shoot him. Well, God damn it, that motherfucker didn't have to shoot these kids either. When I was coming up and people wanted to involve themselves in gunplay, if they looked up and saw little kids or elderly people, they put that fucking gun back in their pants. And whoever they wanted to shoot at, they'd come looking for them on another day. But nowadays, no. They'll shoot at your house with babies in it, shoot at the school, shoot in the park, shoot in the playground, shoot randomly in a neighborhood where kids are running and playing. The motherfuckers who murdered these kids, they have no fucking respect for life. They have no respect for children. They have no respect for fucking black people. So don't sit up here and tell me about what the fucking white man is doing all the time. Don't sit up here and tell me how white man want to kill us. Don't tell me that shit. When 6 and 7-year-olds aren't even safe from black motherfuckers in their own neighborhood, in their own block, in their own town, in their own city. And the crazy thing is, a lot of these black babies ain't even safe in their own fucking house. The way these babies can be abused and beaten and molested. Don't get me fucking started on that shit. So don't talk to me about how scared motherfuckers gotta be of a white man. Or how weary they gotta be of a fucking white man. As long as I got this fucking mural of these dead babies behind me. Talk about this. Address this, motherfuckers. But you won't do that, will you? Because, see, me talking about the motherfuckers who murdered these babies is worse than the motherfuckers who murdered these babies. What sense does that make? But I digress. Go ahead. You got it, Brotherhood Conservative. You got it, man.
I mean, what can really be said after that? You know, this is why, you know, I've kind of like, I don't have much to say about how, let me start over, actually. I've kind of lost faith in the whole save the community position. And it's not so much that I do not want it to be saved. Like I don't want good things for people or something in that effect. It's not that. It's just that I realize that, you know, one, no one's going to come to save me. And, you know, I have to save myself. And that applies to people at large. Like, you know, generally speaking, you kind of have to save yourself in life. And the problems of the community are very, very much internal at this point. And there's a severe unwillingness to be introspective. One, on the part of like the public leaders, the Sharptons, that kind of crowd, the black community leaders, whatever you want to call those, whatever you want to name. But there's a hesitancy to be introspective from those people, or to even act on that introspection. And then too, from like an individual level, like, that's just the typical nature of people. It's hard for people to really address their problems a lot of times. So it takes almost something like, sometimes life kind of has, how they say you have to hit rock bottom in order for you to get better. And that's really what it is. Like, if, look at it like in addict terms, like maybe the community really does have to hit rock bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. But who's to say that we haven't? I mean, especially when you talk about children getting murdered and shit, man, that is rock bottom, isn't it? I mean, how much worse
No,
can it fucking get? How much worse
it's,
can it get?
are you a God-fearing man, sir?
Ugh. I don't
I'm
know
not going to get
after
all
that.
spiritual on you. It's not a trap. It's not a trap. But all right. Well, without you answering that question, because I sense the hesitancy. But here's the
Yeah, I'm
thing.
not. Well, but put it like this: I am not a religious man. I have some degree of spirituality to me, but I'm not a religious man. Um, I do believe that there is a God. I'm just not all the way sold on what that God is. I don't think I have enough knowledge of God. I'll say that. I don't have enough knowledge of God. But go
Well,
ahead, you got it.
I didn't intend to get spiritual in that way. I was just kind of gonna respond like this. If you really do have some kind of religious belief, then you kind of have this concept that things can always get worse, and things can always get better. That's the power of faith. I guess all that stuff will lead you down that path. But don't ever think it can't get worse. You know what I'm saying? God will make it worse if He really wants to.
Yeah. Like I mean, if things get well, I know things always have a tendency to get worse, right? They always get worse. We always see worse and worse shit. And fucking media doesn't help because it allows people to just be totally fucking ridiculous and do some of the most outrageous shit ever. So I get the fact that it can get worse, but why would we sit and wait for it to get worse? Like, I mean, is that what we want? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what we want. We want it to be worse. We want it to get worse, right? Or so it would appear.
Someone that frequents my channel a lot he says something that kind of stuck in my brain once. The problem with stupid is that it doesn't know it's stupid, and that's what makes it dangerous. And so, like, guys are saying in the chat, like, did we hit rock bottom? And Freeman's Journal says the community hit rock bottom and is currently digging. And like, that's kind of the nature of that problem. People don't even know how far down the hole they are, and they have no conception that, listen, things can get so much worse. You just haven't imagined it getting worse because you haven't even imagined that you're doing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know how much time you got, Brotherhood Conservative. I'm I guess open the panel up for a little while. We ain't gonna stay too much longer. Let me see. What is it? 10 to 12,
Yeah,
maybe.
because we coming up on 3 hours. I'm not going to go too much
Yeah, yeah,
longer.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna. So if you want to come through and talk about when prejudice privilege is revoked, you know what to do. Y'all know how we do it here. The email is prophetofthought@yahoo.com. That's prophetofthought, one word, no caps, at yahoo.com. If you wish to come through and say your shit. But we ain't gonna be here much longer though. Maybe, I don't know, maybe another 20 minutes or so. We might, throw down. If you want to come up here and Just give your perspectives on prejudice, privilege, or um, give your perspective on the lack thereof. Because the privilege can be revoked depending on who you're talking to and who you're talking about. That privilege can be revoked, just like your damn driver's license. We've seen it. We saw it this week. We saw Whoopi Goldberg's prejudice privileges get revoked. Her shit got revoked. All right. Yeah, you allowed to talk. You allowed to say all kinds of shit. But
Oh,
don't say this shit here.
you know how else you can get your privilege revoked?
How?
There's another group, and they're loosely related to the Jays, but not directly in any real meaningful way. But the Jays and the gays have it on smash.
Yeah, the Rainbow Coalition. That's what that's what shout out to Rod of God. He called them the Rainbow Coalition. Which is actually not the name because I believe that's Jesse Jackson's thing, right? The Rainbow
I
Coalition.
mean,
That's Jesse Jackson, right?
he supports the Jays and the gays, so it all actually makes sense in a little ironic way.
Okay. Yeah, my brother, the Rod of God, man, he calls it the Rainbow Coalition. So I think I'm sticking with that. Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, I like the sound of it. The Rainbow Coalition. Yeah. Yeah, you can't say too much shit about them either. Your your prejudice privilege kind of ends there as well.
Yeah. One of my last
Yeah.
video strikes, and I think I'm just now, because we're in February. I should be just running the clock out on that. But one of my last strikes off YouTube was from that video. I was playing it this morning on Bernard's channel when they did the whole "will convert your children" thing. Like, and that
Yeah,
video,
man.
yeah, that video was doing numbers too. And the next thing you know, oh, bad hood conservative. Don't do this. And so,
Yes.
you got to be careful how you approach those guys.
Yeah, don't put that on display, but it's perfectly fine for them to get up there. I know what you're talking about. It's perfectly fine for them to get up there with I don't know how many goddamn rainbow folks talking about how they're coming for your damn children. Like, really? But if you put it on and talk about it, you get the fucking strike. But they can get up there and sang about coming for your children all day, all day. It's just stupid, man. But this is interesting. Lady Trinity says, how many black women and kids gotta die before people stop crying about white supremacy and start going after the criminals in their own backyard? That's part of the privilege, Lady Trinity.
Well,
That is part of the privilege. Go ahead.
when you asked the question earlier about like what are you getting for this so-called privilege, this is kind of the weird conundrum, because like black women in particular are at the forefront of like the defund the police movement, the abolish prisons movement. They want to soften up the legal system in general. So this is why you get the no bail policies in all these states where now people are just running in and out of the stores, grabbing whatever they can and leave. Like, all these policies have been supported by black women. And so the irony of it too, it's weird. And this is almost a bit of class warfare playing out in a certain way. People won't tell you that, but this does have the shape of class warfare. If you look at, like, on the one hand, these policies are being championed and implemented by women, black women, not all, but we're just focusing on this group. So these policies are championed and implemented by black women who are essentially upper middle class and relatively elite, all the way up to the Oprahs and whatnot. But then you have black women who are the poor black women who have to live in the neighborhoods where the police get defunded, where the police just, they don't even feel like getting out to answer calls because anything goes wrong, and now you're going to be on the news getting sued, and you're never going to have to, you can never work again. Like, cops are essentially getting what they call the blue flu. And so now you live in this neighborhood that has no police presence when you desperately need it, and it's black women and children who are going to bear the brunt of that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man. I mean, because I think that we give a lot of we give a lot of and I'm known for saying this, man, and people probably know what I'm going to say. I think we give the whole racism shit too much fucking oxygen. All right. We have a tendency to let fucking racism suck all the air out of the fucking room. And while we're fucking suffocating from it, we're distracted because we're not even paying attention to these motherfuckers in our neighborhood who shooting up folks' houses, who fucking stray bullets hitting little babies and shit, and old people, and all this kind of bullshit. Negroes getting killed in the street and shit. I mean, we're distracted. All right, we're distracted by the fucking racism that a lot of us don't even see. All right, a lot of us don't even we don't even encounter a lot of the racism that we talk about. We don't encounter that shit because a lot of us don't even deal with other races like that. And I don't mean, the fucking guy from Pakistan who runs the fucking corner bodega and shit. I'm not talking about dealing with people like that. I'm talking about when you really deal with white people, Latino people, or Asian people. Most of us don't really deal with people like that. And if we do, it's in a work setting. All right. You got a job, your boss is white, it's white people that work there, that kind of shit. I mean, most of us, man, we're not having all these dealings and encounters with white folks like that. We're not. Most of us are not. All right. Most of us. Of course, some of us are because I deal with white people because of what I do for a living. But I mean, most of us, man, we're not encountering other races like that, man. We're not. So we're up here talking like, we got white folks around us every day. We got Latinos around us every day. We got immigrants around us every day. We got Africans around us every day. Like, that's not even everybody's fucking reality, man. It's not everybody's reality, man. Most black people, we pretty much to our fucking selves. We deal with a lot of other black people. So most of the prejudice and bigotry and discrimination that we claim we're dealing with, we're probably dealing with it from other black people because that's who we're dealing with the most. I mean, how can we talk about this so-called, prejudice and bigotry and racism unless we're talking about the white power structure in a whole, right? We're not talking about, some white people who just walk by and call us niggas all the time, right? We're not talking about that. That means we're talking about the the uh, uh the structure of America, right? We're talking about the structure of the quote unquote white supremacy. That must be the racism that we're talking about because a lot of us are not feeling this quote unquote racism that we always rail on the internet, unless we're talking about other black people, unless we're talking about other black folks.
This whole thing about white supremacy, now we kind of going right back to where we started almost. Again, if you really want to talk about who is, as a group, who can control the levers of power in this country, I think you really have to put, this other group in the conversation. And whether or not, they are white is totally irrelevant. It's just a joke I like to play around with. But there is a third group in this game. And ultimately, I forget who came up with this quote, but if you want to know who controls you, just ask who you can't criticize.
Yeah, ask who you can't criticize. That's right. That's right. Whoever you can't criticize, they have the power. All right? They have the power. And as we've seen, I'll say this again, as we've seen, Lady Whoopi, and also Brother Nick Cannon, they know who controls them. They know who has the power over them. And guess what? They did whatever they were told to make sure that that power's not used against them again. That power doesn't take that spot, take that job, take that chair, take that show, take that money, take that check. Now that's power. When a person can say, you know what? I'm taking you off this show. I'm stopping that check. And if you want it back, you need to go on a fucking apology tour. You need to talk to some rabbis. You need to talk to a few rabbis. And you need to get on your public platform and say, God damn it, I apologize. And say it more than once. And we might consider putting your black ass back on TV. Now that's power. That's power when you can get somebody to do that. Because when have you ever heard, especially when you're talking about the Whoopi Goldberg type, when have you ever heard her apologize for any fucking thing she's ever said all of these years? When?
Listen, look, I keep kind of pointing out little like tidbits of information because it's such a deep rabbit hole. But let's try it like this. Let's imagine that Whoopi is incredibly small potatoes, right? Mm-hmm. What if power to censor the Bible? What if there were parts of the Bible that if you actually read out loud, like especially if you had a platform like Whoopi, what if there were parts of the Bible that if you read out loud and emphasized, you would get banned? You would be canceled.
Yeah, you'd be fired like hell. Yeah, you'd be fired. You absolutely positively would be fired. Just from saying what she said, they suspended her ass for 2 weeks. And see what that was now. What that was just a preamble to her ass probably being up off the show. But like I said, that publicist, that manager, that motherfucking CEO of that network, the CEO and the producers of that program, and her best friends and all these kind of people, they got on that phone and they was like, Whoopi, you gotta apologize. You gotta apologize. Because like I said, when have you ever heard her apologize for any fucking thing she's ever said? Anything. And she said a bunch of shit, I'm sure, since she's been on the air and before.
Oh, she definitely has.
You ever heard her apologize? Say, I'm sorry, I apologize for saying this? No. All right? So, guess what? Those people had enough power to make her apologize. And likewise, they had enough power to make Nick Cannon apologize, because he's another one. He's up there, famous, all these shows and all that. But guess what? They had enough power to not only take him off his show and make him go on an apology tour. They told him he needed to be re-educated. And if I remember correctly, some of them rabbis that he was talking to was saying the same thing. Oh, you just need to be re-educated, Mr. Nick Cannon.
I'll make you a bet. I'll make you a bet, Brother X. If Nick Cannon ever gets big again, comes back to, some kind of fame, like more fame, current fame or whatever, he's going to be wearing a necklace with the Star David on it. I'm just saying, like, they will convert you. Like this is how deep it goes. You will be in the club. There's like, listen, no. We're gonna really have to educate you. And when he comes out, he's gonna be like, you know what? I was so wrong. I am now gonna I had a bar mitzvah. I took some
Yeah,
time off and he had a bar mitzvah. He's probably gonna get circumcised. All of
yeah,
it.
the whole nine. You know, really involved in the language, and got these artifacts. Straight straight from Israel in his living room. He had them shipped in from Israel. He got them in his living room. I
A
mean,
fucking a scroll of the Torah in his living
yeah,
room too.
yeah, yeah. All right, yeah. I mean, because like I said, man, black folks, man, I really believe that we have prejudice privilege, but the privileges can be revoked depending on where you use the prejudice and the things that you say, and we've seen it. Okay, we've seen it. We saw it this week. All right, we saw it, and you know, you, you know that your privilege is revoked when they just straight sit you down. They don't even just, give you hell. They straight, suspend you, like it's school and shit.
Right,
You're on
like that's the
you're on
crazy
2 week
thing.
suspension. Yeah.
I didn't think I thought Whoopi Goldberg was past that point in her like not life but career where she could be called to the principal's office.
Hell
And
no.
it's not like she, beat up a coworker or got into some real trouble. She didn't like kill a hooker and throw her in a trunk or something like that.
Mm-mm.
Like all she did was pontificate about the
Mhm.
the state of man. And if you and
Yep.
honestly, here's the crazy shit, right? Like on a certain level, Whoopi was not totally wrong when she's saying like basically like mankind is savage towards mankind, and ultimately the racial barriers don't really matter when it comes to the evil that's in the hearts of men. Like I
Mhm.
think that was kind of part of what she was saying. Now she got herself in trouble by saying, Hitler, I mean the Nazis versus the Jews was white on white
Yeah.
violence. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was beautiful though. That
Yeah,
that
she
felt
went
like a
in.
troll.
Yeah, she went in. And yeah, but even somebody like her, like you said, she is not above being called into the principal slash CEO office. She's not above that, obviously. She's not above being fucking suspended. She's not so popular and not so famous that her fucking prejudice privileges can be revoked. She's not so powerful that her privileges cannot be revoked. They can be revoked, Whoopi, depending on what you're saying. We will call your ass into this office and say, well, we don't like what you said. So your black ass is off this show for 2 weeks. And while you off thinking about it for 2 weeks, you better go on some other shows and say you're fucking sorry. you better be you better be on that fucking apology tour because we will be watching. I'm telling you. Should you think these people apologize, man, on their own volition? Like I said earlier, man, somebody told them this what they need to do, and they need to do it publicly because they said what they said publicly. So just going into the CEO's office and saying, "Hey, boss, I'm sorry I said this shit about your people." No, 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 no. They want you saying that shit in front of everybody. They want you to apologize. They are humbling your black ass. It's what they're doing. They're making you do this because whoever you offended, you can just go in their office and say, "Hey, look, boss, I'm sorry. I know I know your signature's on my check and all that kind of shit. All right, so I'm gonna apologize to you." Nope, nope. you must apologize in front of millions of folks. You gotta apologize in front of everybody, even though they want you to apologize in front of everybody, but you've only offended a certain group.
The phrase, the proper term for that is called kissing the ring. You have to kiss the ring, and you have to kneel in front of the entire court and be seen kissing the ring openly, willingly, without pause, without any grievance. You must love the act of kissing the ring.
hmm They make an example out of your ass, is what they do. They make an example out of you, man, because they know that whatever you believe can't stand the test of time of that check or that show or that that fame. They know you ain't willing to take it on the chin. They know you not. They know if they threaten to kill your contract or threaten to take your ass up off of TV, they know your ass gonna turn around and say I'm sorry. But shout out to the good brother Son is Hot Raw with the 10 pounds, I believe that is. He said, "Hey, brother X, is all good saying these celebs bend the knee, but what do we black people have in place as an alternative for them anytime this happens? Power equals power, and we don't have the power for a counter." I appreciate that, brother. Son is rock. Son is hot. Raw, you know, when you drop coins on this platform, you get this. I appreciate you dropping your hard-earned coins on this platform. Now I get what you're saying, brother. Son is hot. Raw, that they don't have anywhere else to go, but doesn't that mean, if you know, which I think these people do, they know if they piss off the wrong people, they're gonna have to bend the knee. They're gonna have to kiss the ring or possibly kiss the ass in some cases. They know that going in, so why fucking even say anything that's gonna put you in that position? I mean, you can't, say this shit, and then when they call you on it and say we're gonna stop that check, now you're gonna turn around and say I'm sorry. Now you're gonna turn around and say I apologize when you'd have said this shit in front of millions of people. You ain't gonna stand on it. Why not? What, you didn't believe it? Or did you just simply misspeak? Did you say something? Did you say something that you really don't believe in? Were you just fucking talking? Or do you really believe that? You believe what you said, but they able to make your ass backpedal because they threatening that check. So it is quite the quagmire. It's quite the tough position to be in, because you've said something that I'd like to think that she obviously believes, or she wouldn't have said it. But they can make you backpedal because they say, "Hey, look, we're gonna sit your ass down. We're gonna suspend you. We might take your ass up off of here." All of that. So where are you? Who comes out? Who comes out looking better after this? The Nick Cannons and the Whoopi Goldbergs of the world? Do they come out looking better? Do we congratulate them for apologizing? Or do we say, damn, it didn't take much to make you change your mind? I mean, what do you do with that? What do you do with it?
I think the practical reality is that a lot of the modern, media venues have been dominated to one degree or another. So if it comes to just walking away from all of that, then that might be the only thing left to do. The last option in negotiations is to flip the table over. I mean, if you can't come to a deal, that's really the other side of the negotiation. And a lot of people, and this is why I kind of don't like to play the race game too, because I can actually see that things are much bigger than just groupings of skin colors, a lot of people are kind of in the position right now, and I'm talking about in America as a nation, where like you kind of are considering what it would take to just sort of break away from the system as a whole and try to just live as a human being and not be indebted or enslaved into some kind of weird system of things that doesn't actually respect you and in fact preys on your labors and your good intentions. That's really the deal. That's what people are kind of forced to consider. That's the ultimate thing people are left with. Like earlier this morning, I said I was on a Bernard Riley show, and one of the last comments I made before we got off the air was I think black people need to just become Amish. Either we become Amish, or we let the government make your kids gay. Like that's the deal. And I know I'm joking when I say that. That's a bit of hyperbole, but is it really?
Yeah. It's weird, man. I mean, I think that as black folk, man, we have a lot of challenges before us, okay? And I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up because we had like 3.25 hours. But as black people, man, I think we have a lot of challenges, man. There's a lot of challenges out there for black people, right? But I think some of the biggest challenges for black people aren't external, man. I think a lot of them are internal. And I think, internally within black society, man, a lot of us as black people, man, we got a lot of internal shit in our own fucking four walls that we live in, man. A lot of us, we don't even have control over that. All right. We don't even have we haven't even figured out how to make that work like a well-oiled machine. We haven't figured out how to make that work in harmony. So, to have everybody thinking that, the all us black folks are somehow gonna end up in this harmonious fucking state is number one, impossible, and number two, ridiculous. Because first and foremost, there's not just one kind of black people. All right. I would venture to say that there's millions of different kinds of black people. Black people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, black people of different faiths, different religions, black people who grew up in different areas, different geographical areas, speak different language, different cultures, etc. I can go on and on. That alone will keep all 40 some odd million black people from singing in harmony. Just that. And not only that, some black people are not facing some of the challenges that we talk about. That's another thing. People think that all black people are being pulled over and shot by the police. All black people are unemployed. All black people are broke. All black people live in the hood. All black people live in the ghetto. That's another thing. We are not all in the same fucking station in life either. All right? We're not. You listen to people talk, man, you think that all black people live on the same street. We all live in the same town. We all live in the same fucking project, the housing development. We're all living in poverty. I mean, all black people are not the same. So there's no way we are all going to have identical views, identical interests, or identical motivations. It's impossible. It's impossible. Okay? It's just, I just don't understand. I just don't understand why we think everything is going to work for everybody. That's BS, man. It's BS. And most of the time, the people who are saying it know it. But it's always great to say some bullshit that you think is going to uplift black people. Black people don't fucking need to be uplifted, man. Black people don't need to be uplifted. I don't see the whole let's uplift black people. No, because usually if you uplifting black people, you probably ain't telling them anything worth the shit. You telling them how great they are, how magical they are, how gifted they are, how strong they are. And guess what? That don't describe every black person, man. That doesn't describe every black person. It just doesn't. Because guess what? Just like everybody else got a bunch of bad and evil and fucked up people in their group, guess what? Black people, we got some of that too. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of black people out there right now in this goddamn chat room. Some of the worst shit that has happened to you in your life has happened by the way of other black people. I'm pretty sure. So we can sit here all motherfucking day long, bitch and moan about immigrants, white folks, Latinos, Asians, Martians, and everybody else. But if you was to sit down and think about who has had the most direct effect on your life in a negative way, it's probably some black person. But see, that's the thing. See, we leapfrog over that shit. And see, we blame what black people do to other black people. We blame that shit on white people. We blame the killing, the murders, the crime, the illegitimacy, the problems in the fucking ghettos. We blame all that shit on white people. We blame that on the white power structure. It's the white power structure that gives these people these guns and make these people pick these guns up and kill other black people. That's kind of how we speak of it, man. Because see, if we were to accuse the direct perpetrator, that would be us saying that this person is wrong for black society, which he obviously is, right? He done murdered a 7-year-old kid. This ain't a motherfucker you consider to be right, right? So we would rather relate to this guy who has killed this child. We'd rather relate to him. Because, see, if we relate to him, we're considered real. But if we don't relate to him, we're considered what? Relating to white people? Thinking white? Being white? Because we don't relate to these foolish ass Negroes who out here killing and shooting and doing all this bullshit. In fact, they will say that you're worse because you talk about it. You're worse talking about the man who just killed a 7-year-old. You're worse than the man who killed the 7-year-old. How does that make any fucking sense? Because people have said it about me. Oh, man, you talk about this, you say this stuff about black people, this stuff, thing. But you know what I haven't done? I haven't shot one kid. I haven't beat one kid. I haven't pulled my fucking gun out and shot in a park or shot in a playground or shot down in a street where kids are playing and old folks are walking. I've never done any of that. But somehow I'm worse than these Negroes who ride around all day shooting at parks, shooting at playgrounds, and shooting at people's houses and shit. Yeah, you're worse than them. It's stupid. And I think that that's a big, big flaw with black people. I think we're loyal to the wrong shit many times. I think we're loyal to the wrong fucking people. And I think we're loyal to the wrong causes sometimes, man. I think that is one of the many challenges that we have as black folks. We're loyal to the wrong shit, man. And we prioritize the wrong things. But any closing thoughts, man, before we get up out of here, Brotherhood Conservative?
No, not really. I think you pretty much nailed it all. This has been a kind of in-depth discussion. I haven't really had one like this in quite a while. But this is a great talk, and thank you for inviting me up here. I'm glad to have this talk with you tonight, bro.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, man. You know you're welcome up here any goddamn time, man. You already know what it is, man. I appreciate you coming, brother.
Yeah, likewise, man. Have a good night, y'all.
Peace, Brotherhood Conservative. Yeah, man. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Good shit tonight, man. I see my man Big Nate is in here. This late? Brother Big Nate don't usually burn the midnight oil like this, man. What's good with it, Brother Big Nate? The village arsonist is in the house as well. You know, the old loyal T.P.O.T regulars are here. Yeah, but I'm just gonna say this, man. I don't really care if you're a prejudiced person. I really don't. You're a person that's prejudiced, you know, you hate white folks, Latino folks, you hate Africans, you hate immigrants, you hate Haitians, you hate everybody. You hate Arabs, you hate other black people. That's fine if that's who you are. But if you're going to be a person that hates all these people, you can't also be a person who cries foul when people show you hate. Because now you're just being hypocritical. What you're saying is it's all right for me, but it's not all right for thee. I can hate you, and you, but you, and you need to love me. You need to respect me. Simply because I'm black. This privilege of being privilege of being prejudiced is weird. Because as black people, man, I mean, we get away with doing a lot of prejudice shit. Unless maybe it's not considered being prejudiced because we're black. So maybe us doing it isn't considered prejudice. I've heard people say that, oh man, you know, white people, they've earned that. They've earned us being prejudiced against them. And that's cool if you believe that too. If you think others have earned the right to be shown extreme prejudice, if that's what you believe, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't feel so goddamn good when someone's showing you extreme prejudice. When someone's showing you extreme discrimination. Now, I'm not saying that you should go around acquiescing or kissing the butts of any group of people. Absolutely not. But it just seems like to me it's a waste of energy, man, to walk around with so much fucking hate for people. Because a lot of you don't, you don't hate white folks and Asian folks and Latino folks. A lot of you hate other black people. You walk around with hate for them. It's all we hear up here most of the time. How much motherfuckers hate. They hate this person. They hate that person. Many times that's all you hear from some of these people. How much they hate. I don't know how a person can walk around with so much fucking hate all the time. Your motherfucking life, man, must be something else. You walk around with that much hate all the time? I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they have the energy. But I also have to question it. Because if you spend so much fucking time trying to convince us how much you hate, are you just trying to convince us? Or are you also trying to convince yourself? But you know, I don't have a problem with what people do, man. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want because that's what I'm going to do. You can believe what you want to believe too because that's what I'm going to do. I just think it's not cool to, number one, try to force your damn beliefs on other people. And number two, do the same exact shit to people that you don't want done to you. You don't want that shit done to you, right? But it's okay for you to do it to someone else. That's another fucking privilege I think we got in our minds, that it's all right for me to do what the fuck I want to do to you, say what I want to say to you, treat you the way I want to treat you, but nobody dare not do it to me. Why? Because I'm superior to you. I'm better than you. You're not worthy of doing it to me. And I say again, man, that's cool for you to think that shit, man. It's cool for you to think it. But in the real world, that shit don't fly, man. Most of that shit only fly up here. It only flies up here. In the real world, you walk up and slap a man, you expecting to get slapped back. You walk up and disrespect a man, you're expecting to get disrespected back in kind, unless your ass is stupid. Only here, only on media, does that I can do unto you whatever I want, and you just take it and don't do anything back. Because one thing about media, what? It allows people to punk you. Motherfuckers can attempt to punk you up here. Yeah, they can attempt to punk you. And that's what a lot of them try to do. Yeah, they want to punk you, boy. And most of the goddamn time, they're trying to punk people that they punked before. That's why you don't let these Negroes punk you the first time. One time to punk you. One time to fucking disrespect you. One time. Because these Negroes will try it up here. They'll try to do that shit. They'll flat out disrespect you. And be right back in your fucking chat room tomorrow. Be trying to get on your stream if they can. Because, see, the disrespect that they wouldn't take from you, they expect you to take it from them. That's how they try to punk you. Because, see, if you did the shit to them that they did to you, they would have a serious problem with you. But guess what? They can fucking do it to you and be right the fuck back around you the next day. They'll be right in your chat room. Right in your fucking email. Be trying to take the link. That's another problem. That's another challenge a lot of us have. We don't even have basic respect for each other. How the fuck you gonna unify with people that don't even fucking respect you? They don't even respect you. Another part of the privilege we got. We think we can just blatantly get away with disrespecting people. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But only here allows that. Only here. Because there are no consequences, are they? You can't revoke any privileges up here, can you? There's no consequences. But as we've seen over the course of the last few weeks, depending on what your money look like, you can force some consequences out of these people. Start suing some of these motherfuckers. Start taking them to court. Especially if they're lying, making up shit. One thing if they're critiquing you, that's, you're up here, you're going to be up for criticism, but you're making up shit, man, and lying and doing all that kind of shit, a motherfucker should sue you, man. You're making up shit. You ain't telling the fucking truth. Especially when you know they're not. They ain't going to be able to come to court and prove that shit is true. Get a fucking judgment against them. Come to find out these motherfuckers broke. They ain't going to be able to pay you. This media shit is crazy, man. It allows for people to do any and every motherfucking thing, man. Anything goes. And in a world where anything goes, man, you're going to never be able to accomplish shit. Because if any motherfucking thing grows, you got a bunch of people who they ain't trying to follow no type of protocol. They ain't trying to respect nobody. They ain't. Why you think these babies is getting shot in the street? These babies is getting shot in the street because everything goes, man. There are no rules. There are no protocols. There are no regulations. Everything goes. And And it's similar up here. Everything goes. But anyway, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, man. Before we get out of here, man, I got to hit y'all in the head with T.P.O.T's programming notes, Negroes. Yeah, we got some programming notes because we're going to end the week off with actually a decent show because the one and only Dr. Thunder will be here tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. Our Ask the Doc series continues, and yeah, we're gonna have the good Doc in here, man. And I'm gonna try to convince him to play some of his instruments, y'all. That's because I know the Doc play like 6, 7 instruments. I'm gonna try to see if I can get him to do a jam session here tomorrow. I'm gonna try. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get the good Doc to come in here, man, and maybe play a few tunes for y'all because he is a good musician. Like I said, I believe the good Doc masters about 6 or 7 different instruments. I know he plays the saxophone and the guitar, but from what I understand, he plays about 4 or 5 more instruments. So we're gonna see if we can get the Doc to throw down in here tomorrow, man. So make sure you are here, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the TPOT YouTube page. You Negroes know. All right. All right. So once again, man, I want to thank everybody for coming out, man. You could have spent your Thursday night anywhere, man. You decided to spend it here with us. And it's appreciated, man, because I don't take you lightly. I never have and I never will. You got my word on that. I appreciate the cash apps and the super chats, man. But most importantly, man, I appreciate your participation, man. That means way more than any of that shit. Yeah, so I will catch up with y'all tomorrow, man. Good shit tonight, good talk tonight. Tomorrow we're gonna lighten it up a little bit, man. We're gonna talk some musical life, and like I said, maybe try to get the Doc, to play a few tunes up in here or something like that. And shout out, man, to Brotherhood Conservative for coming through, and riding shotgun on this here topic, man, because I think things will change for Black people once we are not as fucking prejudiced as we are. And I think the way to stop that is to acknowledge that we are prejudiced. Some of us are prejudiced because we all have some type of prejudices, right? I think that shit goes for Black people too. And I'm not just talking about prejudice against other people, man. I'm talking about the fucking prejudices that we have right here inside of Black society. I'm talking about those prejudices too. I think we need to fucking work on those first. We need to work on those first. We need to work on our own fucking internal prejudices against each other. We need to work on those. And after we done fix those challenges, then maybe we can branch out and start worrying about other people's prejudices against us. But I think we need to start with our own shit first. Get some understanding of our own prejudices first. Worry about everybody else's prejudices later. But that's all. once again, man, I appreciate everybody coming out, man. I will see you good folk tomorrow, but I will leave you with 3 words, like I always do. Open your mind.
Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus. The protester. Dark Exodus.
Open your mind.
You know.
Yeah, X. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus.
You understand?
Yeah, X.
You understand? Open your mind.
Dark Exodus. Yeah, X.
You know.
You understand?
Exodus. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus. Dark Exodus.
Only from T.P.O.T. Media. Open your mind.